if I was more into like just feeding in, I mean, I guess this is kind of a drama topic, but if I was more into that, I understand how those pages grow so fast because it's kind of like a world star of
It's a
Pokemon.
yeah, it's like one of those things that you can't take your eyes off of. It's definitely
I
a world
know.
star vibe. Yeah, for 100%. That's so
I
funny.
mean, it just blows my mind that that's even where we're at in the hobby is that
I
people
mean,
are
I
people are
saw it
camping
in
out for like $100 or $50 or whatever because it's like limit
days.
one. Yeah,
Days.
it's
There was
crazy.
people out in front of GameStop like on a Monday with their chair. I yeah. The amount of
No,
money you
it's
can make that week. Just buy it on market, dude. Let's just buy
well,
it on
yeah.
market
No,
if
I
you want it that
watched.
bad.
I think it was Retro with I don't remember who he was live with, but he was sort of making the point where it's like people camping outside of GameStop. You could literally work at McDonald's or any low end job and make the same amount of money that
You
you've
can
been
probably buy stuff on Craigslist and flip it again and still make more money. Like it's
go to like a
yeah,
yard sale or anything like that.
yeah, yeah. It's crazy.
All right, well, let's jump into it. We have one additional live viewer, so that's fantastic.
Heck yeah.
Um, if you want to go ahead, I just start these all the same way. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of, I guess, what part of the hobby you interface with the most, and yeah, what how you got back in, I guess, or if you've
Sure.
always been collecting since you were a kid.
Yeah. My name's Jake. Go by Jodo Jake on Instagram and YouTube. I've been in the hobby consistently since 2020. Prior to that, I was in the hobby from like 2010 through like 2012, and I'm like a true 90s baby. So I grew up with base set, jungle, fossil, and so forth. Um, I've been on and off collector my whole life, not just Pokemon cards, but I collected a lot of video games too. Sadly, sold a lot of that, but yeah, it's like one of the one things I have seller's remorse. I had like every single Pokemon game, every GBA game, every Game Boy game. Of course, I didn't have like the boxes, but yeah, sold all that in 2022 or 2021. I can't remember. I mean, things were booming. Pokemon was hot, so I thought, why not? But yeah, I make content on YouTube. I've started back in October of last year. Took a small hiatus already just because I've been working on some career stuff. But aside from that, I post on my Instagram pretty, regularly of my collection. I do edits for all of my collection that I post. You can go check me out at jodo.jake on Instagram. I do commissions for other collectors that want to do like expanded art with their collection to show off and flex, I suppose. But yeah, I've been hyper engaged in the hobby since 2020. Like most people, I got back in. Uh, I got in pretty early into the pandemic. I want to say it was like probably March or April of that year, and I started watching PokeRev, Leon Hart. Like I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Um, and like I remember when PokeRev had probably like maybe 40,000 subs. To think
Wow.
where he's at now, yeah, it's kind of crazy. And so yeah, I dug up my collection that I had built during that like 2010 2012 era, and me and another friend at that time, we decided we wanted to do a WotC binder set, and he started working on base, and I was like, oh, I got to do this too, and I was super picky about that, and I wish I had been just buying everything and not so picky, but
Oh, like that
yeah,
was the only thing you were buying?
WotC era, yeah, and it was raw singles. Like I did a complete base set unlimited. I worked on base two, jungle, fossil, team rocket, gym heroes, gym challenge, basically everything up till e-reader, and I picked up a handful of e-reader cards at that time. There were still holes and stuff, especially like first eds. I No one cared about first eds like they do now. In 2010, 2012, no one cared as much about. Uh, I mean, sealed modern wasn't a thing. Like I don't
Right.
remember even hearing a single person talk about modern at that time. I believe that was like Heart Gold Soul Silver era, if I remember correctly. And yeah, I had basically a near complete WotC era, aside from the e-reader sets. And I got back in and I started looking at those binders and was like, whoa, this stuff is worth more money than I ever anticipated. And I basically re-sleeved everything, put them in nice Vault-X binders, and I was like, I kind of want to continue this. So I picked up commons and uncommons, some hollows, and then obviously Modern kind of caught my interest with Vivid Voltage. That was like I think one of the first sets I remember being like the newest release. I remember Champion's Path. That was a that was something else. Um, what people are doing now with Prismatic, people were doing with Champion's Path, as far as just like camping out, waiting in line, all of the night for Champion's Path is kind of crazy to think about. It's like a full circle moment.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, I think one of my best friends, childhood best friends, him and I picked up 2 boxes of Vivid Voltage each, and he pulled the Rainbow Pikachu, and that was like funny because at the time we didn't know it was such a big deal, and we were like, oh, that's a cool card, like, and then sure enough, that card just popped off,
I think it was,
and then I
yeah,
kind of,
1,000+ at
yeah,
the
it was a thousand
time.
plus in a PSA 10. Um, and so modern it had my interest, but it was always really been vintage, especially up until Battle Styles. Once Battle Styles came out, I had like a new passion, and I'm so glad that that happened because it's changed my whole perspective on modern. um, I set the goal at the time to collect every alt art raw, and I was super picky. I was buying singles. I ripped probably within the first 6 months of being back in the hobby, and that was it. Like I don't rip packs. Like I recommend any collector that's just joining this hobby within the last 6 months to 8 months is to stop ripping and just buy the singles. If you really want to have that chase card, just buy it, because you're literally just burning cash, especially with sets like Prismatic. But anyways, yeah, I got into collecting alt arts, and then in 2020, I think at the beginning of 2023, I sent out my first PSA submission through a friend, and I kind of wanted to do it to test how how good of a pre-grader I was. And so I sent a mix of cards, vintage or semi-vintage, like I'm a big Blastoise collector, so I sent in a Plasma Storm Blastoise, the secret rare with the gold
Yep.
borders, the shiny. I sent that out expecting a 9. I got the 9, and then I sent like some like XY full arts. I sent the Umbreon EX, the Giratina EX, those both 10. I remember sending Pikachu's from Lost Origin, the V and the
What
V
were those
Max
going for
10.
at the time? The XY full X. I'm
I
curious.
sold Umbreon for 350, and I think I sold Giratina for around the same. And I know the
Honestly,
Umbreon's up.
yeah, I think it's
Like, it's like probably
1,200 or
5. Oh,
the one from Fates Collide.
uh, yeah, yeah, Face Collide.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's like over 1,000 now.
Oh, I'm sick. Yeah, I actually know the guy that bought it. I hope he still has it. That'd be cool.
I think it's
Um,
just because they historically have not
they're
come
not
out
easy to
well.
grade.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I bought that at a local show for $13, and that first submission, like I hit tens on everything except the Blastoise. Most of it was like I said, it was like XY to like ultra modern, some alt arts from I can't remember what sets, but yeah, I was like, oh, I have an eye for this. Like I have, and I'm like super picky. Like people that see me looking at PSA 10s of both modern or PSA 9s of vintage, I'm like looking at them with flashlights if it's for my collection. I'm just a picky OCD collector. So I tend to try to my best to send stuff that like I'm like confident on. Right now is a weird time to be sending to PSA. There's so much going on. They're heavily impacted, so I've slowed down. But yeah, after that first submission, I just started sending myself, and I recommend anyone that hasn't graded to at least do it once, even if you don't care to have a graded collection, because it truly just changed my perspective on how to basically really just improve the way you grow your collection, like optimize through, like I said, I bought that Umbreon for like $13 and made,
Yeah,
near
the
a little over
value add is
300 bucks.
crazy. It's still, I mean, with how much they're grading, for anyone who
Yeah,
doesn't follow Gem Rate, I mean, they post like daily how much PSA is
it's
grading, and it's, I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of cards per day. It's
yeah
crazy that the demand for, or
for
maybe just a lot of
plastic.
those, well, a lot of those still get kept in people's collections. Maybe they're just not hitting the market as often as I think. Just because they're grading $300,000, 300,000 cards doesn't mean that 300,000 are going on eBay the next day.
No,
But
I'm sure there's a large amount of it is, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sure a lot of it never sees an eBay post. That's for sure.
well, and also there's millions of Pokemon fans, so
Yeah, stuff
it's,
gets eaten up pretty
especially now,
quickly.
it's hard to find graded stuff now, like right now, because there's such a big backlog. I sent, I think, like 20 cards maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was
Yeah,
mostly alt arts and a couple Sun and Moon full arts. Like I sent two of the Zorarks from the, what was it, the
Trigger.
shiny.
Oh no.
No, it's
Oh
they're like the Hidden Fate shinies, but they come in like the big ETB. I think it comes with the Metagross or something.
oh yeah, the full art shiny.
Yeah,
Yeah, like from the shiny vault. Yeah,
yeah. I just sent off two of
that,
those because they're like $8 raw, and they're still
yeah.
really, like, I had ones in really good shape. So we'll see.
Man, those used to be like all of those shinies used to be super popular. I know the Umbreon obviously and the Eevees always have done well, but overall, Hidden Fate's interest has really plummeted in my opinion. Just like, and that comes with like the evolution of the TCG and art in general. Like we have illustration rares and SIRs and alt arts. Like it's hard to think of what's beyond that this at this point. Um,
My friend says
but
they're getting all nines.
you know what? Like grading right now, I would just be not only just like super like critical of what you're sending, but expect the unexpected.
Yeah, I haven't sent to them since they've changed their standards, even though they said they've been grading that way the whole time. But I've seen people get
Man,
absolutely railed where they're like, I'm selling
yeah,
everything just to like not even break even, to lose like $100 on this sub or whatever.
yeah. I have my own theories on stuff like that. They're like tinfoil theories, of course, but I truly think that everyone played telephone with that whole communication and the fact that they changed the copy on their website. It just went from they updated the copy to oh they changed their grading standards, and this is
That's
what
why I
happened.
got a
But
9.
it's actually not the case. I don't you. Yeah, no, that's why I got a 9. Yeah, I think my tinfoil theory is that it's all poor timing. I think there's like a factor at play where there was a lot of new graders introduced to PSA, or something happened internally where it happened as soon as we were taking off, like pre-prismatic, like probably like surging sparks, and they underestimated how much prismatic was coming in. And this is coming from Nat Turner. I don't know if you got a chance to. Do you follow Colt or Peeked at You on YouTube?
I do not, but I
Or
saw that he
are you familiar
interviewed.
with Colt?
Yeah.
Yeah, he interviewed Nat, and they talked about, or Nat talked about how they underestimated how much prismatic, which to me screams don't buy any prismatic for like the next year, because there's probably so much backlog of prismatic sitting in PSA storage right now that it's just going to like flood the market. I know that there's like this whole take that prismatic has bad pull rates, and I'm sure they do. Like it seems like it's a tough set, but to think how much is out there just waiting to be put in plastic kind of scares me. On how like it's just like at the first sign of like a bearish market, we're gonna see so many cards just hit the market at once, and that's just going to cause everyone to undercut everyone, and that will be an interesting time. And I imagine with like how much PSA is grading, like this can't keep up. Like I'm already seeing signs of like a more healthy market coming. Like showed you that post from GameStop this
Oh
morning.
yeah.
They're trying to like I think there's so many things happening. like in the background and decisions being made to help just with these growing pains, because anytime there's a boom, there's going to be a point where things like kind of, I don't like to say that these buzzwords like crash or boom or whatnot, but like when things start to correct, there's going to be a lot of people that just leave the hobby, but there's always more than what there was prior. So like we constantly grow slowly, but like we're in a point right now where we're growing so quickly that these decisions that need to be made take time. And Pokemon's good about reprinting. Like people think that they're not, that people think that this is all intentional. I don't think Pokemon expected this sort of interest so quickly. And it felt, the timing just felt weird. We were coming off of Stellar Crown and Shrouded Fable, and we go into Surging, and we just like, I, to me, I thought it was like, I remember like sitting and just thinking about why is there so much interest with Surging Sparks right now? Because to me, I'm just like, it's a cool set. I would probably rate it at like a B tier set, but I don't think it's this like incredibly like sought
Yeah,
after set.
I don't think it has anything to do with the set, honestly.
No,
Because
it doesn't.
yeah, I agree. I mean, the Pikachu was so poorly received, and like people were
Sure.
just pretty negative on it as a whole. It felt like.
Yeah.
I think there was some inherent. There was the Vivid Voltage 2.0 stigma around it for
The whole
a
stigma.
while.
Yeah, agreed. And uh, I,
But I mean,
I,
to be fair, that was when not to get political, but that was when like the election was going to happen
yeah,
and
there's
things
a
like.
lot
So it
going on,
felt
and
like there was a lot of
crypto was
turbulence.
taking off too, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't follow that. Like, I don't follow crypto at all, but like I know that they were popping off. So there's like bigger economical things happening that obviously are going to affect the Pokemon market always. Like you think about Pokemon, and who was thinking about Pokemon in 2008? You know what I mean? Like
right.
during like the biggest recession we've seen in forever. So like those outside factors have to be considered. But there's also like things that were happening within the hobby. You know, we had, what was that? Pokemon Pocket coming out.
Yep.
Um, as Surging Sparks had just come out, we have Prismatic, but this EV Heroes or Evolving Skies 2.0. People just, it was like a perfect storm, in my opinion. Like similar to all of the buzz that went on during the pandemic. Like we had all of these different factors. It's a different, entirely different experience from that 2020 boom. But yeah, I see a lot of similarities. I never like to say that like history repeats itself. I think there are times where that they share similarities, so you can kind of like make a good guesstimation of what's going to happen. But we're in like, this is by far crazier environment than 2020, 2021 in my eyes, especially with all of the like negative stuff happening around the hobby. It
I think
just,
people too are just they're smarter. The people that stuck around and the people that are coming back, maybe even, but especially the people that stuck around, they're much smarter with it the second go around. Maybe they didn't have these huge positions and things, but I feel
yeah,
like the first time all this investing, and sealed product is, sealed modern is king. All that stuff didn't really exist in 2020, from what I
it
remember.
Yeah, it wasn't, especially sealed modern. It wasn't as talked about like it was today, or it is today. Um, and like modern overall was kind of, it still had like a negative stigmatism to it. I don't know
Yeah,
how else to
it's
explain
not
it.
like, yeah, and to be fair, it's not like the beginning of Scarlet and Violet. I mean, I said that in the post I made today about Paldea. It's like, it's not like people were absolute fans of this set until recently, I would think.
Yeah,
So, um, that whole mentality still has not changed. I think there's just like more people putting stuff away than previously, and probably a lot of people who got burned by Vivid Voltage, Champions Path, and whatnot probably never came back. But
never. Yeah,
but now they might be in line at GameStop for Prismatic, giving it another go. I don't know.
yeah. No, I think something you mentioned is like people that were there during that boom are a little bit smarter with the way things are. I feel like you kind of have to turn off your brain a little bit. You have to like go on autopilot and just say go 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 to a certain degree, because
Yeah.
that's what I did with surging. When I noticed that there was like an unnecessary amount of interest in surging, I bought more Pokemon Center ETBs, not caring about like the risk. Like I basically just put risk aside and said I'm buying at least 2 cases of this, and then selling as much of it and keeping the rest that I could basically get for free.
Yeah.
And I wish I bought more prismatic. I had 3 cases. I had 3 cases of prismatic Pokemon Center ETBs, and that was before they had changed that limit. That was the first set that just screwed it up. Like a lot of like real
Yep.
collectors that were buying this, because Pokemon Center ETBs, no one cared about. Like there was not this level of interest when
Surging, you could
I
order
have
for
every single Pokemon Center
weeks.
ETB.
Surging, you could
Yeah.
literally
Oh,
order. It
weeks,
was, yeah, it was
weeks.
in stock, never went out of stock until like, pretty much leading up
Scarlet.
to that.
I don't even remember when Scarlet and Violet base went out of stock, but those sat on the Pokemon Center site for a long time. I think Shrouded was the last Pokemon Center
Yeah.
ETB that stayed in stock. But yeah, I bought 3 cases. Unfortunately, one of them got lost with FedEx. So,
Oof.
shocking. Like, yeah, so it took me like 2 months to get my money back for that third case. But I was like, please just send a replacement, but they did not. Yeah, I remember day one of Prismatic, I sold a case for 1,200. I was like, this is the dumbest. This is the dumbest free money glitch I've seen in the hobby for a while.
You want to know what? So I had 2 as well. I sold one maybe
You
a
have
month
one
or
still?
2. I have one left. Yeah, I think I'm going to sell it just because I would rather have or I'll go into this in a second, but the first case I just sold in April for 1,600, which I think was like pretty much the peak, which I couldn't have guessed, but I was like, I'm okay with letting one go. The people that bought it from me, for whatever reason, they were pretty degenerate and wanted to open it, and they
Oh
opened
my
it in front of me.
gosh.
And the first pack, they pulled the Roaring Moon SIR right
Oh
away.
wow.
Like,
I just sent
and
that off to
then
grading in March.
that's one of the best cards from the set, I
Yeah.
think. But
Agreed.
aside from the evolutions,
Yeah, I agree. That's
but yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Opening Pokemon Center ATPs is literally setting money on fire right
They didn't
now.
even know about the product. Like, they didn't even know I had to explain to them the value of the stamped card versus the regular. And I was like, are you sure? Like, I would maybe go shop around and look for the regular ones. And it was a dad and his daughter who was like in high school or something. He's like, no, it's her birthday. And I was like, this is $1,600. This is not like,
Yikes.
go buy the regular. You could buy. So this is my point, and this is the appeal to me. The regular ETBs, they'll probably be reprinted more, obviously, but you get. So this is my problem with the PC ETBs right now: is they're 2.5 times the price of the regular, but you get less than half of the packs if you got a case. Because a case of regular, you'll get 10. Case of
Yeah.
PC, you get 4, and you're getting 44 packs versus 100. It's just like I can't value the
Yes.
promo that high, in my opinion. I
Sure.
understand the
No.
scarcity of the product, and like people love EV, and the PC ETB will still do better in someone's sealed collection than the regular. But
That's
if I'm
fair.
looking at the packs long term, how much is being ripped by streamers? Same thing that happened with 151. I'm like, I would rather just have the regular. If I'm getting them
Oh
on a
man.
reprint, I'll get those instead.
Let's make sure to tag 151 to talk about later.
Okay.
I would love to, because
Yeah.
yeah, I have some takes.
Okay. Let's jump into the topic of the video, just because I'm interested to hear your take on the stolen black and white, or
Yeah.
black bolt white flare packs. So I've seen 2 images so
I've
far.
only seen one of
Okay,
like the
so
pack art of, I think, the white pack, and I don't even know more context. You probably have more context than I do.
I reposted it. I don't know if you saw it, but someone posted both pack arts of the Zekrom and
Oh, I did see
Reshiram.
that from your, yeah.
Yeah, and they were at a convention, and they were the English pack arts. So
Yeah.
the English Black Bolt White Flare, they had the packs there, and they were pretty much like, what the F has the hobby, what's happened to the hobby? And I was like, oh boy. And then I think a day or 2 ago, someone posted, yeah, I think Rattle and Opossum Bud other people have made videos about it. But essentially, what I saw was, I think it was the Japanese. I could be mistaken. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I think the Japanese white flare was opened, and they had the actual like hits on the table, and then someone took a picture of that, and then there was this whole
I haven't seen that.
fiasco where people are like, Pokemon, why would you post that? Pokemon like sues people over things like this, so they're gonna come after you. So
Yeah, so this is so funny because I feel like this is like the third or fourth time this has happened since I've been back in the hobby, if I remember correctly. So the first time I remember this was the Evolving Skies and Fusion Strike.
those were egregious. Those were like
Yeah, Fusion Strike
hundreds of
was
secret
like
rares.
literally just like full.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm gonna see if I can
Those
just
are
find a picture and
so
share.
whoever had those, whoever had like, you are the worst criminal I have ever seen. If you're ever gonna see this video, you probably won't. But if I were to have that sort of quantity of alt arts from Fusion Strike, first I would have graded them. And I would have done them in batches. And second of all, I would have slow dripped that for the next 10 years. Like I literally would have been drip feeding that for the
That's
next 10 years.
that is the thing that I don't understand about criminals is they cannot like like they'll
No.
steal the whole thing and then put it all in one place, and it's like, well, there's the
And it's
stolen
like not
goods.
the most suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are so many ways they could have done that to actually, make money. But it looks like they try to sell it to a shop. I don't remember if it was in the States or in Canada. I get the whole I get confused with or mixed up with the whole Canadian Fusion Strikes like loaded boxes. Do you remember those? Do you remember hearing
Yeah,
about
I
those?
remember. I mean, there's people who still like have boxes or
Mm-hmm.
cases from that print, and they're like insanely upcharged. It was like $6,000 for a box or something because they're like they're
Yeah.
guaranteed these
I
Gengars.
mean,
But
it's actually crazy.
yeah,
Those
yeah.
those boxes are actually insane to
I
think
saw
about.
someone pull like 3 Gengars from a box or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. Literally, they had like 3 or 4 Gengars, 4 or 5 Espeons, Inteleons, Mews. It was wild. um,
I want to
yeah,
see
I
if I can
remember
share
that.
my screen.
Yeah, if you can.
Let me see. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, no worries. I remember that, and I was just like, oh wow. And then people were like, they pulled them from the packs. That's why Fusion Strike had no hits. And I'm just like,
Wait, can you see my screen?
no,
No.
not yet. Let me see
Wait.
if it's.
There
Oh,
we go.
I think something's. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
All right, so look at this. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, wait,
Yeah, this one's crazy. Can you go full screen with
I
that
don't know how to
image?
go full
Open
screen.
open in new tab.
That's what I did, but it's not share. Oh, I shared the wrong screen. Okay, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, that is.
Let me share again.
That is so crazy.
This one.
Yeah,
There we
so
go.
people basically were coming up with the theory that that's why Fusion Strike had bad pull rates, but I mean Fusion Strike was one of the largest Sword and
Printed.
Shield sets No, it's like one of the largest sets. So like
Oh, it has like
it has like
280
over
cards.
200. Yeah, it's something
Yeah.
crazy. So it's not easy to pull alt arts as it is, and then you add that many cards in a set, and it makes it that much more difficult. And when
I think
they don't give you
too,
the
if I
KOG
remember,
hunt,
they brought these to Trading Card World in Dallas. I'm pretty sure.
was it Trading Card World? Oh
I think
wow.
it was Luke and Lord Rush that got like their store
Oh,
was the one
was
that
it?
received.
No
I think
way. I did.
yeah.
That's
Before
crazy.
Lord Rush went and did his own thing, I think they were still together at this point, and it was like I don't know how
Wow.
they got in contact with Pokemon or the police or
Yeah,
whatever, but it was like, yep, here we go. This is
Pokemon basically took it, and I'm pretty sure they destroyed it. Yeah, so I remember this, and then I have a interesting story with Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest
yeah. I didn't know
had
which.
Yeah,
All right,
so Silver Tempest is so funny. Silver Tempest had, um, I actually came across packs of Silver Tempest. So this is wild. I came across packs of Silver Tempest nearly 2.5, 3 months before the set came out on eBay. And I almost bought them and then didn't. and I shared it with a content creator that was like on
Oh, I
Twitter, and you
remember.
might. So I was the person that told Ali on Twitter, seismic shock. I don't know if you remember that guy, but
I
he
do.
has yeah, he completely disappeared from the face of the earth. He
Wow.
got a lot of shit, so he ended up buying them, posted it immediately, uh, and yeah, everyone went at him. I feel partly at fault for sending him the link.
No. I mean, dude,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
again, that's someone who's acting in a way, I don't know. It's one thing to act in your own best interest. It's another thing to do something that's like stupid that
yeah. No,
there's
totally.
repercussions for.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, not only like, and his excuses were crazy. Anyways, yeah, that guy literally disappeared off the face of the
That's
earth.
weird that he still hasn't resurfaced because I'm pretty sure he had like 20 or 30K subs. I'm pretty sure like he was doing
I
well.
think he tried to rebrand entirely outside of Pokemon as like some yeah. I don't know what kind of content, but I remember seeing something on like
Bro,
TikTok or
people
Instagram once.
people will do anything but take accountability for like
Yeah.
the
And
things
he
they
was
do.
trying to make the excuse that like all these other big content creators get free Pokemon early. And I'm like, dude, it's being sent to them because they worked hard to get where they're at, not for
Yeah, and
you
it's
to
more
just
in like a
like
pre-release
cut the
fashion.
line.
It's not like
Yeah, it's not 3 months
ooh,
in
yeah.
advance. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that happened. And then I'm just like, that was like the last of it that I remember seeing up until like this like recent Destin Rivals pack with the Kangaskhan in it. I remember seeing that like pretty
Yep.
early on. Not I wasn't sure if that was real or not. Yeah, that photo of the evolving skies Rayquaza and Umbreon
Which
is
again, just like in this case, like I'm not gonna judge. I can't even tell who this is or what their clothing is, but I'm just it looks like it would be like a young kid in his, mid-teens
early
to
20s.
early
Yeah,
20s. Yeah, that's like
yeah,
got these from the factory or like they were going in the trash. Or, I don't know. I mean, they probably weren't going in the trash, but like they took them out of the filter feed. I don't know how it works exactly, but
yeah,
this is crazy. Especially when you see ones where it's like this and they're all unsleeved, just in like
yeah.
stacked like
They
bricks,
don't know what they have. That
bro.
they yeah.
This is
Yeah,
probably like this is probably in today's value, this is probably close to I would guess maybe 50, 75K at least
I would
in
say
card.
so too. I mean, you think
Yeah.
about grading them.
Oof.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Even the
And
raws, I mean, they're like 1500 raw and 800 raw or something like that.
yeah,
It's crazy, man.
it baffles me. I've been keeping track of my because like I completed every Sword and Shield Alt Art and PSA 10 in summer of last year, and I have constantly been checking. I didn't start checking the prices up until the beginning of this boom, but they've already fallen like $12,000 between January and today in
Yeah.
terms of total value. Like over 12 grand they've fallen. And I know Z and G James, uh, he kept urging me to just sell it, and I'm like, dude, he would send me
Did he want
gifts
you to
of
consign through him?
yeah, of course. Yeah, James,
He
yeah.
wanted the full set?
Yeah, he's like, don't send the graded guards. I throw them away.
Oh my god.
I hate those damn things. But no, like people have said like, why haven't you sold that? And I'm just like, you don't understand how much time and effort it took me to find. Because I graded probably, I want to say like 70% of them. I bought a few that were just really hard to find gradable. Like Giratina, I bought for like 600 the day Lost Origins first sold out on the Pokemon Center. The,
Smart
the
man.
the booster boxes, I was like, this thing's about to take off, and I hate having to pay this much, but I'll just do it. And like, I traded for a few, flipped cards to buy some of the ones that I was missing. But the the thing is, like, these aren't just like your average PSA 10 that you can just pick and choose from. Like, these are all carefully selected, no print lines on the back, well centered. Like, I kept track of the ones I needed to replace in my spreadsheet for this entire time. And I only have one left that I actually want to replace, which is the Vaporeon V. Those were tough. Like, I could not
Oh, the
grade those.
promos. Yeah.
Yeah, those are tough.
Those
I
are
could not
hard.
grade those.
I mean, it's
I
probably getting
tried,
harder even to find them now because you pretty much got
yeah,
to open probably a
those
field
boxes, by the
collection.
way. Oh man, I wish I bought more. I only have one of each. Um, I truly regret ripping a set when that came out. Like I ripped it for the packs and the promos, keeping the pack sealed and just like putting those promos in my. Because at the time I don't think I was even grading. Um, man, I wish I didn't because those boxes are beautiful. Like I think they're some of the best collection boxes we'll ever see.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
so too. Dude, I never even bought any of them because I'm never listening to people again. I sort of was just convinced when I would go on Facebook Marketplace and people would post them for like $60 each, and you get so many laugh reacts, angry reacts. These are $40 at Walmart, whatever, and that just like sort of turned me off to the whole thing entirely. And now, flash forward now, I kind of see that happens every set, regardless, especially in a boom period or with evolving or whatever. But I mean,
yeah,
it happens with Sea and Sky. It happens with all those boxes that are just like, I feel like the more negativity I see is probably a sign that I should be buying it either at MSRP, like anywhere I can, or from a friend that's like
yeah,
at a reasonable price, but don't just completely skip it because it seems so. I mean, even Blooming Waters, like I have one Blooming Waters now,
bingo.
but the only downside, my biggest downside is that if I were if I don't break it down, shipping that thing is a nightmare. That thing is huge.
Yeah,
So,
I broke them down.
yeah.
I don't keep those sealed. And I want to go back to like your main topic, but I want to come back to Blooming Waters and 151. But
Okay.
like, yeah, with we see a lot of like missing stolen product only in times of like crazy markets. It's literally the only time this happens, and it's just solely because there's money to be made.
Well, I wish we
Easy
could get
money,
an
like
interview with like people who work at these facilities or whatever. And is it just minimum wage warehouse workers? I'm assuming it is, but
I would say they're probably close to it. I mean, they're all contracted, right? From my understanding, like I know what is it? The name of the
oh,
company that
Cardamundi
Pokemon.
or whatever.
Oh,
Isn't
I
it
haven't heard of
Cardamundi?
that one. No, I'm thinking of maybe Drew knows in the chat. Quilly. Why am I thinking? I'm blanking. It starts with an M. Um,
Oh,
Millennium Print Group.
yeah.
They were
I
bought.
think
They were
that's the
bought
one.
by Pokemon, and that happened after Fusion and Silver Tempest, if I remember correctly. And I'm pretty sure there was a lot more that was cracked down on
Yeah, Quilly
after
says
that.
Millennium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know how it's happening again. I assume because, I mean, if Pokemon's opening up space to print more, that creates more risk and less control. Whereas before they had a lot more control. And I assume that's what happened when they were going crazy on the printers before. It's hard to control when things need to be printed in such a quantity. So I like I said, it sucks that it happens, but it only happens when there's easy money to be made.
Well, that's why I was curious about the Destined one where they found the packs in the mini tin because I'm pretty sure
That
the
could have been
mini
an
tin
error.
was, yeah, I think it was a Paldean
Journey,
Fates
right?
mini tin.
Or
No, I think it was
oh yeah, you're
Paldean
right. It
Fate.
was Paldean.
So it was like totally not the right product. Granted, it did get opened, but I feel like that's more on Pokemon than
I haven't heard about this, but I see with Sean's comment.
Marcel Borrowing
Interesting. Well,
Panini.
they're
Are
also
they saying
borrowing Panini, right?
Panini's
Oh, so they're
printers?
printing in Panini facility. I maybe.
Mm. Yeah, that would be a nightmare if you take on like another company's infrastructure and you imagine they don't have maybe the same security measures or like, yeah, Panini's printers. Interesting. I did not
Interesting.
know that.
I haven't heard about that.
Hmm.
Raising them to catch up right now. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, that happens when there's less control. Like it's just bound to happen. I mean, if these are just minimum wage employees, like this is not. I mean, don't advise stealing, but it's giving them an opportunity to make more money than what they're making. So
Yeah.
I get it from that perspective.
Well, and
Um,
that's why I'm kind of curious. I wish we could get like the inside perspective of like what does the
yeah,
training look like? what's
Yeah.
kind of expected of you. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we need to get someone in like
Oh,
a
that makes so much more
Discord.
sense.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah, that's
They would
true. They
have
had
like
like
NBA players or NFL players like names on them.
NFL players, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, let's be. That can't that could be true, but so Millennium doesn't just print Pokemon. So although they're owned, they still have contracts with other
Gotcha.
TCGs and cards. So it could be within Millennium.
Dang.
But yeah, that's interesting. I forgot about that. Those would be cool air cards.
I thought they were like
Yeah, and then I want
fan
to.
made at first.
I mean, who knows at this point? There's so many things happening with like altered. I remember someone sending like cut cards to CGC that they cut themselves and getting the miscut label. like,
Yeah, that's
like that's beyond me.
okay. Let's bounce
Yeah.
back to the Blooming Waters, and then we'll go into Destined a little bit more.
Yeah. So you had put out a poll about like I think it was like Paldea Evolve, Surging, Prismatic, and I think it was like one other set of like
No, I
what was
did.
the
I
question
did.
again? If you remember?
I did Paldea, Surging, and Destined, just because those were like
Oh, Destined. Okay.
the most recent
And it.
banging booster box sets. I feel like. Hey, Retro's in the chat. Let's go.
Oh, what's up,
What's up,
dude?
Retro?
Hell yeah.
Were you hoping that
So
I added 151 to that, or
I'm I'm curious as to why you didn't, or was it just
well,
did it
because
not cross your mind?
I really was going based on the most recent booster box sets relative to Paldea that I felt like were going to
Okay.
be in that similar price range. I mean, the irony of it all is that Obsidian is like more expensive than Surging right now. So I think Obsidian is like the third most
I
expensive
did
set.
not know that.
Yeah, I think it's like it might have dropped a little bit
That is
after the
so funny to
TCG
me.
player sale, but it went up to 250 ish. Um, Same with Darkness Ablaze actually. So who
Obsidian in
knows?
Flames is $250 right now.
Yeah. Well, let me
Wow.
check. I don't think
So,
it's
so, uh,
235 on TCG player.
dude,
It was
that set.
250.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Garbage set,
I
by
got
the way.
my. I got my. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's I. I didn't understand why it was disliked so much because I mean, the comparison to that in Darkness Ablaze is just not fair, in my opinion. Like, yes, Darkness Ablaze isn't the best Charizard set, and maybe Obsidian isn't as well the best Charizard set, but it has way more to offer than Darkness Ablaze, if we're being honest. Like, you think about the IRs like Ninetales, Scizor, Houndour, and then I think from the four SIRs, they're all not great, but it isn't a. That set's quality was really weak. So I think it's probably the worst of Scarlet and Violet in terms of print quality. I found it really difficult to find those to grade myself. So I see it differently, but at the same time, no one wanted that set for the longest time. Like
Yeah.
Obsidian Flames sat at like $85, $90 for a long time. I got a
Yep.
case for sub 600 if I remember correctly. Yeah, it baffles me. But going back to 151, I I think people have like tunnel vision and they're hyper focused on this is what I do as a collector. Like I truly try to step away from what people are talking about and disregard like literally just go on autopilot and focus on the things that I find there's the most value in and not like chase what people are chasing. Like right now Sword and Shield is super hot. And as like someone that doesn't have infinite amount of money, I'm good with what I have. I'm not going in on this to think expecting for it to go up more. Like Fusion Strike at 800, that's a little risky to me. Like
Yeah.
at risky in the short term. Long term, sure, whatever. We can say it goes to the moon, but like I feel more confident buying like 151 booster bundles at like sub $60 right now, up to $800 worth of the value before I go spend any of that kind of money on
Yeah.
Fusion Strike. If
No,
I'm
I
sitting
agree.
on this,
I think the irony again of um 151 is that, and Prismatic to some extent, but especially 151 because it's older, is that there's no, I don't think anyone's questioning that it's going to do insanely well in the future. I mean, even if you look at like, granted, Crown Zenith has
Yeah,
better pull rates, but I'm just talking about like from a, I mean, you can even look at Hidden Fates and these other specialty
yeah,
sets that are super popular. There's no way that the Kanto starters,
yeah.
you know, it's
And
just it's impossible
I
for it to not do well.
exactly, and I think that's part of the reason why people are disregarding it. I think, or not paying as much attention to it as I would expect, because it's so obvious. Like
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
I think they just
go
think
ahead.
they have like infinite amounts of time.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's 2 years. It's 2 years coming up in October or
and
September. I
I
can't
mean, it
remember.
doesn't seem like those ETBs are getting reprinted. They're at like 235 now for regular. I think the PC one is like
I'm
450 or
sick.
some. Yeah, it's
I
nuts.
have 6 of those. I have a
Oof,
case and two. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I wish I bought more. Like it's always that when it comes to the things that I like, I find myself like really trusting my instinct on. I have time and time again always told myself, man, I should buy more, and that's what I've been doing. I can't tell you how much 151 I have. Like I have way more than I probably should right now at this point. Like it's a humble amount, but from like a small collector, that I feel like it's a decent amount. I probably have in sealed product like nearing 1,000 packs, like
Wow,
easily,
nice.
easily. So like but I was buying UPCs when they were $70 on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like I I bought, I can't tell you how many of those Mew EX promos when they were $2 or $3, and I was flipping them in the like, I want to say in like January, December for $45 a piece.
Yeah.
And the non-gradable ones, of course. Like I'd rather just keep them in cellophane and sell them off. Like that was also another one of those, like it was a no-brainer. Like, but people didn't want it. People don't want it if it's cheap, and I see it all the time. Like people didn't want Shrouded Fable. The only reason why Shrouded Fable was like sought after is because it was the only thing that was available at a
Yeah.
reasonable price. It's why it lasted so long on Pokemon. Well, technically, it didn't really last that long since release, but that's why it sat on Pokemon Center. Yeah, it's wild to me, that we the casual collector is here for like 6 months to a year, and we're just now probably reaching that like window where people start to trickle out and burn out, because a lot of the time these new collectors, they come in hot and heavy with like their eyes closed, just reaching for anything and everything, and like that type of momentum is just gonna just lead to burnout.
So let's go to Sean. So Sean, thank you. This is Lucky Egg Soda. That is awesome to know. Good to see you. I'll answer this with a double whammy to go back to, I guess, your question as to why I didn't include 151 in the poll. Sort of
Yeah,
already answered it with the fact that I was trying to find more
booster
comparable booster
boxes. Yeah,
boxes. But do I think Black Bolt White Flare will be the best set in the Scarlet and Violet era? Probably not. No. If I were to rank them just based on what I know now or like how I'm feeling, I think it's still probably going to be Prismatic. Then it's hard to know if Destined or Paldea will be the top booster box set. I genuinely believe it will be one of those two. I have more faith in Destined from a desirability standpoint, I guess. Paldea has the Magikarp, lots of amazing IRs, cool SIRs from the new era, but I just feel like Destined is still ultimately like Destined to me feels like when it does drop in price, I really would like to get a sizable amount. I tried to get like anywhere from like 2 to 6 cases of booster boxes of certain SV era sets. Again, I got all of them when they were 550, 600 a case, but
yeah.
and I don't think Destined will ever get that low, but this is a long-winded answer here. I would put Prismatic, either Destined or Paldea, probably. I mean, no. I'll probably go prismatic 151.
Holiday on holiday.
Destined. Paldea Fates, Paldea Evolved. I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to order them, but I guess my point is, I think those specialty sets are more
Can you give me a
desirable.
time frame? I have a question like on top of this. Like when you rate these, are you looking from like what time frame? Like are you thinking just like overall? Like are you thinking like within the next year or two? Because
Overall, how the era
let's
is
just
going
say
to
black and
age.
white. Let's just okay. I
This is my problem with black and white. I personally don't like it, so I can't
hey,
put it in my top five.
I'm gonna be really honest. I feel the same way about black and white, and I think it's just a generational thing. But on
But
top
it
of
is a
that,
specialty set. It has all those full arts. It's
it
probably going to
has
do
master
better than I want
balls.
it to. Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to do great. And I think what's really kind of painting that for me is that it does have identity, and like sets with identity are the ones that are remembered. That's why, and this is like a hot take, but I think 151 will be like a generational set that people will really look back at as something special. Stuff like there's so many layers to it. Like we will never see a set that was like master setted like that since like base set, in my opinion. Like it just that's how I see it. But that might be coming from like my boomer mentality when it comes to like just like the nostalgia factor. But just knowing how people like were at like just like the casual collectors were walking around with their binders trying to master set that. I haven't seen anything like that since I've been
yeah,
back in the hobby. And
yeah. I guess to your point there, I wouldn't be shocked to see that with black and white as well, in
yeah,
terms of
and
like
that's what
really
yes,
people set
exactly.
chasing and I mean, here's the thing too. It's like just because I don't like it, it doesn't mean that there weren't thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids at that time when I was I guess I would have been like, what, if 2011, I would have been 12 or 13. But I mean, there's tons of people who are
How old are
still.
you?
I'm 25,
Okay.
26 in
Wow.
August. Yeah. So,
Oh my
but
gosh.
I stopped after Heart Gold Soul Silver, the games. So I guess
The
the last
best
sets I
games.
ripped, yeah, the last sets I ripped were those Prime era sets, I guess. I thought it was Platinum, but I did pull some of the Primes. I had the Feraligatr Prime tin, I remember, from 2010.
Oh wow.
But
Oh cool.
I guess, yeah, long-winded answer of saying I guess black and white will probably. It's funny because I feel like in my head, specialty sets are so readily available and so heavily printed compared to booster box sets that I don't like them as much. I do like having the booster box more so from whether I'm a sealed collector, investor, whatever. I just like the appeal of more packs in a compact unit that I can
Sure.
store easily.
Mm-hmm.
ETBs end up being really inconvenient or whatever, but I do also see the longevity. I feel like we haven't seen many specialty sets. This is where it gets interesting is how they're going to age in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Because if you look back at some of the, I guess before like Hidden Fates, but like Dragon Majesty, all these other specialty sets, they weren't that desirable, I feel like.
Yeah, they didn't offer anything special. I mean, even Sword and Shield Pokemon Center ETBs didn't offer anything like
But now it feels
they
like those specialty sets are almost like like
the
they're the
punch. Yeah,
yeah, they're
yeah.
like
There.
the tipping point in like the era where you're like, okay, we finished the first quarter of the era, they drop 151. We finished the next quarter of the era, they drop
If
like Paladin
and
and
if you
Fates or
think about
something.
it, they really do. They always these holiday sets always push the boundaries of the TCG. Like if we as far as like, all right, let's start with Crown Zenith. Like that was the first that was the first ETB to include a promo. Like we got our Lucario Altart promo. That was a big deal. And then Crown Zenith alone, I it had the Galar Gallery, which is still to this day like if you can learn anything from what a holiday set can do, no matter how much it's printed, Crown Zenith is your like example to
The
really
one
look
thing
at
though with
because
Crown Zenith is it seems like the gallery is one of the reasons why it's so strong because the pull rates, like the
It's the best
dopamine you
opening
get per
experience.
pack, yeah, is like even
Yes.
compared to 151 prismatic. Prismatic's terrible, but I mean, a lot
Yeah.
of these other specialty sets, it doesn't seem
I
as desirable in that regard. But
I and I have a hot take on prismatic. I have like a very hot take. Most people would probably disagree with me. I think prismatic will probably have a negative, overall negative. It will be framed kind of negatively in the hobby. I'm thinking like 5, 10 years from now. I think like the reason why some of these sets do so well is because they are open by so many people and people share that experience. Like they actually engaged with that product to the point where it fulfilled them. And that's why we look at like early like sets from people that grew up with like base set, is because like it has that sense of nostalgia for so many reasons. Prismatic, like these kids that are growing up with prismatic will not have what we had with those eras or what you grew up with. You know what I mean? Like there's this like there's this weird thing that happens in the hobby where everyone has really short-term mindsets and like memory on how we perceive these as collectibles in the long run. And that's why I'm so like bullish on 151, because there's so many more reasons why this set will do well, much better than anything else from this era.
I think
And
that's fair in the sense that I feel like there was not, besides the demand catching up with what was a very plentiful supply at the time, but um, I felt like I never really experienced a negative sentiment around 151. It felt all, you know,
yeah,
rainbows and
it was
roses the whole
available.
time. People, but I'm saying people also, whether they were chasing the nostalgia or already in the hobby and still kind of pushing along, it felt like it was received well from what I can remember. I don't know if, I mean, maybe it was, but just to backtrack 1 second, Michael said specialty sets in Sword and Shield
Yeah,
all had no promos.
I
I
should say
think
alt art. Yeah, like a special art, because like the Champion's Path had one. It was a
the
Charizard
Charizard
V.
V, that was a crazy time.
Yeah, that thing. I think that's one of the most graded Pokemon cards ever. Like
Yeah, I
it's
think it's
like
like
in the top 10.
50,000 PSA
Yeah,
10s or something.
yeah. I should
And then
refrain.
Sean said Hidden Fates and Shining Legends.
It's
Wait, what was Shining Legends promo? I know Hidden Fates was the
Shining
Glass
Legends was
Birds.
Shining Legends was Ho-Oh, and then Glass Birds. It was the Shining Ho-Oh. It's just the half art Shining Ho-Oh.
That came in the ETB?
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
yeah. Well, I was also I'm thinking more of just like the ETBs in general, not just holiday sets, because regular ETBs did not get
Oh, I
anything
see. Okay.
special.
Yep. That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a good distinction.
yeah.
It's like specialty sets versus.
Every set we get a Pokemon Center exclusive promo. There's like we
Huh.
didn't get a promo in every single ETB. I think.
It is interesting. I sort of lose track of the changes Pokemon makes over the years. That's, again, I will say for Black and White, that is one of the more interesting things that I'm curious to see how it works. Is I mentioned this on one of the other streams I did, but they're implementing like 2 or 3 new strategies. It's every card getting a full art. You essentially have one generation split into 2 individual sets. A lot of
Sets.
people don't know this yet, but the actual ETBs will be completely separate SKUs in the sense that I think when you
Yep.
bought like temporal, if you bought a regular case of temporal ETBs, you would get 5 of each. Like they would evenly distribute them. But for this one,
Whereas
you're going to
this
get
you'll get
10
10.
white flare, 10 black bolt. And so it's a
Yeah.
very separate SKU, which I feel like is a new concept. And then, but we've seen 2 different ETB box arts. And then the last kicker, I think, which we should talk about, is probably those black and white rares, those monochromatic ones, which I don't know
Yeah.
how I feel about them. They're not
I
as crazy as I thought. I mean, they'll probably be sought after, but I wonder if they're going to be harder to pull than SIRs. I guess that's my big curiosity. Is like,
Yeah. Are those are because I kept seeing info on like rares or parallel hollows. Are those what they were like? I don't know if those are what they're talking about, but like on like the official Pokemon press site, I don't remember if it was black and white or if It's another set, but there's like a
Parallel might
mention of
just be the hollow
parallel hollows.
pattern for. If it says one per pack, that's probably just the regular hollow
Yeah.
pattern or
Also,
something.
we're getting that black and white foil pattern, if I remember correctly, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah,
like
that'll be
shutter.
cool.
We're getting
That'll be
that.
cool because the foil pattern for Scarlet Violet, in my opinion, is garbaggio. So bad. It's so bad. But I like the reverses,
Yeah.
actually. I don't mind the reverses.
Yeah.
Retro
So
says
he's
behind,
talking
but
about. I was
watch your
talking
mouth.
about surging.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you had that
It's a
crazy
B tier
graded
set.
submission you sent with
Yeah,
like
I feel that wasn't my cards, but yeah, we sent
it's
quite a
like
bit of
5 or 10
surging.
Pikachus.
It was like 8 Pikachu's and none of them 10. I feel so bad for him, but he got redemption. He got the prismatic Umbreon. We sent that in Express, and he got the 10. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, we sent that out. Like he got that back last month, I think. Um, yeah, with the black and white, the new full arts, like I like what they're doing with this set. Like I said, I think sets that have a theme that are well themed do really well. And they're paying homage to the full arts, which were black and white were the first to introduce. They're just going all in on this generation, which is great for those that especially that grew up with this gen or just like this is their favorite gen. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to do the binder, like a lot of people wanting to complete the illustration rares, especially
Yeah.
all 156. That'll look fantastic. I'll probably do that too because I do the illustration rares in a binder. I've been
Well, the
working on
one
that
thing I
for.
haven't heard yet is so every there will be an illustration or special illustration of every individual Pokemon from that generation, but will there like what are the pull rates? Have we heard anything about like
So this is my take. It sounds like they're introducing or reintroducing a 1 in 3 odds. I think it's going back to like the experience of opening like vintage where you would get
oh
a hollow in 1 in 3 because if you think about it, White Flare has like 70 plus and the other set has like 70 plus illustration rares. I can't imagine you opening like 5 to 10 packs and not hitting a single
yeah, it
illustration
would
rare.
have to be easier. Otherwise it would I
It
mean
would.
that's one thing to be said still is even if they do make it easier, it will be hard to master set because
Yeah,
even if you
there's so
have one
many.
in three packs or whatever, 1 in 3, yeah, you are just as likely probably to pull a duplicate as you are to pull one that you're missing. And so,
There there could be a Magikarp of this set. I think.
yeah,
I don't know what it is. I mean, if Magikarp can do what it's doing with Paldea Evolved, it could be any
I
Pokemon at this
really
point.
should probably reorient myself to black and white, like just go on
I can't name
Cerebi or
10
whatever.
Pokemon. I can't name
I,
10 Pokemon that aren't starters or legendaries. Like I can't do it. There's no way.
I could
I think
probably do
Zoroark
it,
is
but
black and white, right?
yeah.
Zoroark and yeah, okay. I got one, but yeah, like I'm not a Gen 5. I'm like a Gen 1 through 3 person, but um, yeah, I can
The
appreciate it.
Pokemon
I think it's
Center
really cool.
Sword and Shield just had more packs.
Yeah, so they had well, they dropped the ball when they first came out with those, which was Chilling Reign. They were supposed to have additional packs, but they didn't, and then they
Oh,
had to compensate everyone by having the 3 pack bird blister. I think it was 3 packs or 2 packs with the 3 promos.
yeah.
Um, those are actually like worth buying. They're still undervalued. They're such an exclusive product. Like if you really think
I
about
honestly
it,
forgot about that.
yeah, they were only made available to those who pre-ordered the ETB. I don't think they ever
Nice.
corrected it either.
Is that the only 2 pack blister like from
Like
that
a
era?
air, yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if it's the no. There's probably other 2 pack blisters, but
Oh, okay, okay.
that's
Oh, yeah, I
that's
see.
the only. Yeah, it has all 3 bird V's from Chilling Reign,
Hmm,
like the Galarian ones.
gotcha.
Um, but yeah, and then after that, they're just additional packs with a variant art on the ETB. That's really I think maybe the quality of the dice is different too, if I remember correctly. There's like small differences, but like from like a card standpoint, there's nothing.
We're looking at dice quality now. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
the one
seriously.
thing that I don't know yet is I don't know if you've ever seen a non-TCG he
Yeah,
posts YouTube videos. He had an interesting take or perspective, which I think he had heard from distributor or something, saying that each the combined print run of Black Bolt and White Flare will be greater than Prismatic, but the individual print runs of each SKU or each subset will be lower than Prismatic. So he was pretty much saying
Yeah.
75% Black Bolt, 75% White Flare equals 150% of Prismatic's
Which
print
is
run.
still like, if you really think about it, like if you just separate the idea that they're different SKUs and so forth, it's one set. Like if
Right.
like I yeah, but like if we're being like specific, yes, it's two sets. So I think of it that way. Obviously, where they're splitting up what illustrations are going to be in each set, I think that that's still great for the hobby. That's still way
I
more product.
I love that concept just because I vividly remember when I would play Diamond and Pearl, Heart Gold Soul Silver, there would be, I think Heart Gold Soul Silver too. There would be exclusive Pokemon
Oh,
per
always. Yeah,
game.
every
So you
gen.
had to
Yeah.
trade with people to get the ones you
Yeah.
want. So I kind of like that concept. And also it doesn't allow people to, I mean, in a way it sort of prices out investors in a sense because they can't hoard as much of a single. You
Yeah.
would essentially have to buy double if you wanted to, you
That
know what
same
I'm saying?
position.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was actually just having a conversation with a good friend of mine today about this set and the side effects that it might have on other sets of Scarlet and Violet, and that's just the pricing of illustration rares. Like I think once this set has been consumed for like 3 months and or 3 to 6 months, and there's plenty of illustration rares out there. I wonder if this drags down the value of all of the illustration
Just
rares.
because it's like saturation of like the rarity.
Oversaturation, I think, and there's ways. I really hope that Pokemon never reverts out of these types of rarities. Like, I think that illustration rares are important for the hobby now. I think it allows for the casual collector to enjoy the opening experience without feeling like they just got wrecked.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I think we were talking about Crown Zenith. It's probably one of the best opening experiences of the modern gen. Like in my opinion, like you have such good odds of pulling a great card. Even though at the time those weren't the most valuable cards, like the gold cards, I remember when Crown Zenith came out were still like sub 100 if I remember correctly, just because they were a lot easier to pull versus like an alt art
I mean,
from
even
that
if you
gen.
get a cheap Galarian Gallery or full art, it's still like a good feeling. Like
It's a yeah
I love the Magmortar and Electivire
yeah
artworks, and like those are
mm-hmm.
like $3-4 cards, I think. So
Yeah,
there
I
are a
mean
lot
the
of cards
Mew.
like that.
I think when the Mew came out, it was like 10 to $15, and at one point it dropped to like $3 or $5. It's a beautiful card.
Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, like I'm really curious to see because like it's taking inspiration from like the theming of like a set like 151, but it's also including Master Balls and it's including what we wanted. A lot of people wanted out of 151, which is basically like an illustration rare for every Pokemon in
Oh
the
my god,
generation.
I didn't even realize they're doing Master Balls too. I know
Yeah,
you
there's
mentioned that. I
Master
didn't
Balls.
really think about like how they have to increase or make the pulls easier because there's just no way people can master set this. If
Yeah, it will take yeah, especially I mean in a bearish
Danny
market, I think
Phantom's getting shafted by Pokemon right now.
he's he's having a hard time. I do like Danny After Dark. I have to say, like, I appreciate his more like I hate to see him frustrated, but I love to see it at the same time
I just
because it
think it's
brings
funny
out
because I know he does the full master set binder giveaway
for
every
every
time, and it
yeah.
feels like it's gotten harder and harder. And then they're just like, you know what?
Did
Let
he
me
do
toss this one.
Prismatic? Did he
I think he
actually
did.
finish? Yeah, he's
I think
insane.
he did.
He's
Yeah.
actually insane. Um, yeah, it like if this is the last set of Scarlet and Violet, I think it could be really good. I had a theory like a year ago what this because I remember when they were talking about Black and White, and my theory was it would be more of like a Crown Zenith end of era set, but I was expecting like a Zekrom and Reshiram card similar to the gold cards from Giratina, but black or white. Like I could like imagine that. Like that would be insane. Like that was where
Like a
my head was
connecting
going.
artwork or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just like that, like it had that like godly, like epic look to them, and I could just see that. So I'm not necessarily saying I'm disappointed with what they're doing with these full arts, but I am still expecting a lot more with what they do with the SIRs, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does feel like for those again, I don't know if they're max rarity, because the question or the confusing thing is that like the Victini is a wait, actually no, I'm thinking of the Japanese. So the Victini in the Japanese is going to be a promo, the full art black
Yeah,
black white red or
the
whatever.
red one, yeah.
But it's, I guess then in English it still might be a main set. I don't know how
Who knows?
I don't know how they'll do that. Again, if they're splitting them in two, you would think that one goes to each. So
And
I don't know.
yeah, that it might be a promo. It might be a collection box
Or a UPC
Victini.
or something. I'm sure they do
Yeah,
it like that.
Victini UPC. It rolls off the tongue.
There we go.
There we go.
All
Yeah,
right.
an all red box.
All right, let's see. I want to catch up to some of these questions. What was this? I think it's inevitable. One ends up being worth a fair bit more than the other. I hate talking value so much, but that's all everyone talks about. That. Yeah, I mean, again, as someone who doesn't collect as much anymore, it's still, fortunately or unfortunately, our hobby is so blessed that you can open a pack of cards and at least get some money back. There's a lot of other consumable hobbies where you just do the thing,
Yeah,
use the thing, and it's gone. Even people who, gamble or whatever, like you're taking a gamble when you open packs. And so the fact that you can even extract any value out of it, I think is why it's in the conversation all the time. But it can still help like guide, I think, even from the collector standpoint, like again, if these are two, it's one set, but whichever one you end up buying, let's say, if they stack one of them inevitably or by accident, here's the thing: like Pokemon's gonna try to make it as even as possible. They're gonna try to put Zoroark in one set, and then maybe I don't know, Golurk. I don't know what an equivalent of,
they're gonna do it. Yeah, I know what you're
but
saying. They're gonna try to balance them
they're
both
gonna try to
out
balance
as
it as best they
possible.
can, and they're gonna be wrong just by the nature of like how this stuff
Yeah,
works. Like people are gonna find a card that they end up valuing from Black and White era way more, whether it's the artwork, whether it's just like
yeah.
there's clumping or something where batching where you just can't pull the Zorua like as often as the other card. Like
Or maybe the print quality on one set is better than the other.
yeah,
There's so many like variables at play with these sets, and you gotta just figure it out once it's here.
yeah,
It's I want to go back to like the whole like value thing. I can definitely empathize with that. Like I'm someone that's in this hobby. I've been in this hobby at times where no one cared about it. Like I said, like in that 2010, 2012 era, I wish I just literally closed my eyes and bought everything I could. Because where I'd be now with my collection would be insane to think about. But yeah, like the value aspect has frustrated me when we're in markets like we're in right now, because it seems to be what a lot of people care about, or like what they only care about. And I think that there are so many ways to enjoy this hobby where you actually don't have to spend a dime. Like I've created like some of my like favorite people. Like I've like met some of my favorite people from this hobby, and like if you grow like in this hobby, you can build like really strong relationships where like you might have someone that be able to get you in on something at a great price just because you know this person. You know what I mean? Like you've built a relationship with this person. So like I also just know that like this type of market doesn't last forever. No matter what anyone says, like I've seen it more than once. And anyone telling you like there's two words that come up that are the biggest red flags of a bullish market that aren't mentioned when we're not in like a crazy market, and that's MSRP and scalpers. Like that stuff does not exist when we are not in a bullish market. Like those, like the only reason MSRP is a conversation right now is because everything is above that market suggested retail price. Like
yeah.
that's
When
the
it's below,
only
no one
reason. If it's
no one says anything.
no one says
They'll just buy
anything.
it from the market or
It's
buy
not
it from
it's not a
the
deal.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to be prismatic. I don't know if it's going to be black and white, but there is going to be a near like future set that is below MSRP. There will be, and I don't know when because
I
we're in
would
like a
guess it's the
weary.
next era, I would think. That's just my guess.
It could
Like,
be. It could
because
be.
it's
I
coming
just
up
think,
soon.
yeah.
But
I think the summer this like there is a summer slowdown in my from my perspective. Especially I've seen it year after year in the hobby where there's a lot more. In my opinion, there's been more opportunity for certain things. Like last year, this time, I was buying 151 singles like Alakazam for $15 or $20. I was buying Venusaur for $25 $30. I was buying Blastoise for like $35 $40. There was a lot of opportunity there, um, and I'm sure there will be this summer. That being said, if Black and White's the last set, we're going into megas. We're going to have a gap year between generations, at least a gap, at least a year. If I would imagine if we're going into 30th anniversary the following year, we're that's going to bring like the
here's
price up of
sorry to cut you off. I was just gonna
no,
say
go for
here's
it.
something I want to add is that like we are going into megas, but I think people have a common misconception, which is that like, oh, megas are like insane or whatever. First of all,
Dude,
I
they're
think
not.
they always print these base sets to the ground of these new
Yeah.
eras. Also, I don't think megas were even popular until like this last like cycle essentially. Like the
Dude,
gimmick was not liked at all. It felt like I
dude,
don't know.
gimmick like yeah, I will say I think megas are the best modern gimmick. Like if I'm being honest, like we look at like the Terra hats, I'm not a fan of.
Right.
There's
But they have like
certain
tag
gimmicks.
teams, megas, like
Yeah, yeah, from a
of that
TCG
same
standpoint.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
V Max,
Um,
like all those sorts
yeah,
of
it really is so interesting. Like I feel like this wasn't the case up until like these past year or two, maybe, where like prices get dragged up because of hype of things that aren't even out yet. Like you made a good play on some of those megas that you sold. Like I
yeah,
think you
I, f- I mean, yeah, it was partially that, and also I just felt like when I was looking at the pop reports, I was like, this is, I mean,
yeah. I mean,
too
yeah, if
cheap.
you look at some of the like early alt arts of like X and Y, like the Mewtwo, the two Mewtwo's, like those were severely undervalued if I'm in like relative to what the market was doing because those are really hard to grade and they were low pop and it's Mewtwo. I remember I don't know what they're going for now, but they were like sub $600 if I
I
remember
think they're, I
correctly.
think most of the any of the Mega
Yeah.
Mewtwo's, I think are like at maybe. Don't take my word for this, but I thought they were. I know the Mega Mewtwo Y was above 1,000 for sure.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
know about the
surprised.
X.
And
So
like I still think that's probably too cheap if we're thinking about where things are right now in the market.
yeah,
But like it's crazy how like everything gets like rocket. The like I remember I want to say like a year ago, Dark Charizard in a PSA 9 was like 550, and I think it's like double or maybe even triple that now. And it's
yeah.
just like the modern is dragging up the previous like set that has relevance. And it's just like this
I just
constant like
I
it gets
can't.
exhausting.
Yeah, again, I think it really tells you that there is just a lot of new people with a lot of money and maybe not a lot of money coming in on all these different avenues of the
Mm,
market because people that have been around even for just a few years, I would hope are not buying like in my opinion, maybe I don't know, people who want like a Mario Pikachu or whatever and have the money to do so, they could buy it at any price. They
man,
don't care. But like, I mean,
don't get
I
me
would
started on
not,
that
if
card.
I had been here for multiple years, I would not be buying that card at 14 grand or whatever, thinking it's going to go to 28 grand or 20 grand. It probably will at some point, but um, I don't know. That's,
Yeah,
and I want
I
to,
know.
I want to backtrack really quick just to say, like, as someone who's mainly, um, positioned and sealed like right now, a lot of booster boxes and stuff. I also am not like a fan of this market. I think even a lot of investors are not a fan of this market in the sense that most people like accumulating positions in these sets like didn't even have enough time to like really build like a solid foundation. Like I think most people, including myself, I was buying those Scarlet Violet sets at 550 a case thinking, all right, I'm waiting until like Scarlet Violet's out of print. Like, I have a lot of time to like really, again, I have the spreadsheets and stuff, really
Oh
crunch the
man,
numbers on like what I need to let go. And it shot up so much that it's like, it's still just as difficult for someone like me who wants to keep sealed for a few years because I can't really buy it now and feel comfortable with it. Um, and so I think there's like a common misconception that's like all the investors are like making all their money. It's like no, there's a lot of people who are still like weren't able to get. I
get
guess
it? Yeah.
they were expecting things to happen at a much slower pace. Like obviously the goal there
I
was
mean,
to
yeah.
make
If
some
you,
money and enjoy it, but it wasn't like I wasn't thinking that after surging sparks in the next 6 months, the $600 I spent on a surging sparks case would be worth $1,600 or $1,500. Like that was not,
yeah,
and I haven't
it was
sold
not
any of it
anticipated.
either.
Yeah.
Like I should be selling right now, but I'm not because I'm like, I can't get myself to do it because I don't know if I'll be able to get it at a lower price than what I paid, Probably not, but
If it's well, that's tough. Um,
I mean, I should
there
it
can I
realistically what I
want
should be doing is selling like 2 cases, make all my money back on the other 3 I have,
to, yeah, and
and
you're
then
in
just
the yeah,
yeah, that's really
reroute
what I
it.
should be
That's
doing.
yeah. I wanna paint an interesting. I want to tell you an interesting story that you could take away a lot from. So that friend that I was collecting like the WotC era sets with, he had done basically base unlimited, then he did jungle unlimited in first, Foss unlimited in first, Team Rocket unlimited in first, and he was pretty close in 2020, I think. But he said, I want to complete it and then sell it. Now, if he had just sold it when in 2020, incomplete, he would have made almost 3 times as much versus what he actually ended up selling it for complete a year and a half later.
Yeah.
So I wish I had sold a lot of my vintage at that time and bought it back. But I also like I say that saying that I'm not going to sell my alt arts because I just put too much time into it. And I think there's like a from a collector boy standpoint, like I those were part of like memories collecting those WotC era sets from a very special time in the hobby that when base set packs were 40-50 bucks. And so like I have a hard time letting go of things from time to time. And then also like turning off my brain and just like selling things off is not as easily, it's easier said than done. Um,
That's
when
why I mean, I'm
you,
glad I don't have a collector mentality in that way anymore where it's like I need one of everything. I don't need one of each booster box. I don't need one of each
sure,
case. I sort of am gauging it based on my feeling, and that's not just the feeling of the investment, that's like the feeling relative to the market. Like I'm not buying Journey Together right now, but if they reprint the shit out of
yeah,
it, I will be buying some
which they
because
probably will.
right.
Yeah, I agree. Like, but like if you're doing it
But it's
from
hard
like
to
an
break up
investor
a full
standpoint,
set like that.
yeah, no, I won't. But like there's no shot. Like I worked way too hard on that. Like it's also just like one of my like from like a long-term goal perspective, I think it's like a good example to show other collectors on what's possible. If you set your goals and stick to them. There was times that I didn't think I would complete it. When we went into that crazy Sword and Shield alt art boom last summer, I thought there's no way I'm touching Gengar or Blaziken when they went crazy. But I was able to end up trading into them just based off of flipping other things. Um, but like, yeah, with like the sealed perspective, I would probably be if I had no attachment and I had multiple cases, I would be rotating that out and then finding a buyer buy-in like down the road. Like,
Yeah, I mean, here's the issue is that like I am saying to myself, "Oh, I probably won't be able to buy it cheaper," but I also don't know like I do and don't know what Pokemon is capable of. Like they're such a wild card sometimes where they just like will randomly drop a bombshell on you. Like they could be
I
printing
mean, look at
things.
Crown Zenith. Crown Zenith is a great
Crown Zenith.
example of that,
I
dude.
mean, even like
Like,
Silver Tempest Lost Origin, they printed like a couple more times at the end there. And I don't know. I really do need to restructure like what my goal actually is with it, because the goal is not just to buy them cheap. Well, it is to buy them cheap, sell them high, but it's
yeah.
like I also would like to do it from a sustainability standpoint where I just so happen to accumulate 4 cases here or 6 cases here of Paradox or Temporal when they were 550 a case. So I'm really only in on them. It's a lot of money. I'm not saying it's not a lot of money. It's 2 or 3 grand theoretically for that many now. But like I said, I could sell 2 or 3 of those off and be completely free on the other ones. And so I think what I might do, so like that Fusion Strike box I posted the other day, I sort of engagement farmed people because I do have 4 boxes of Fusion that I got around 200
Okay.
previously, and I took that one in at 750, but I traded a Twilight case that I paid 550 for and got
Yeah.
Fusion plus 600 cash. So I was able to
Yeah.
get a little bit of cash extraction out, which was nice. And also I'm pretty much in on the Fusion box for free theoretically, in that sense that I didn't like pay any money up front, but technically I took it in at 750 value, but I still have 2 more cases of Twilight, so I'm okay with that. But I guess my point is like it definitely would not. It's one of those things where like once I start getting rid of a few, I don't think I'll be as like I my
You would
worst fear is
you'd be
to
less
do
risk
what you
averse. Yeah.
it's just to like not capture at least some of the gains and then be regretful or upset at myself that I didn't. I hate that thought process that everyone has where it's like I just held everything and now I'm upset that like it's super cheap, or the opposite where it's like it felt cheap but I felt like I could get it cheaper and I never bought. Even Destined, I paid, this is terrible, I paid $1,400 for 1 case of Destined. That's my only case
Uh,
I've ordered. That's the only case I'm gonna order until it's like sub probably $150, hopefully.
I got a
If it
case for
never goes under
900.
150, I'm not gonna cry about it. If it goes to 3,000, I'm not gonna cry about it because at least I got in somewhere
Sure.
where I'm
Sure.
okay with it. But
Yeah. I refuse to buy like and that's just from like I refuse to buy like a set. I won't spend more than 200 on a booster box on a modern booster box. There's just no way.
yeah,
I knowing what Pokemon is capable of, if Fusion Strike could be a $75-$80 booster box,
yeah.
anything is possible.
I mean, even Roaring Skies, that's the one they always bring up, where it ran to
Yeah,
300 and it went back to 70.
yeah, like anything is possible. Pokemon can really just like they're gonna do anything it's just a slow process. That's all.
Yeah, I
People
think people think they misunderstand and think that it's not possible because there's more people buying and investing or whatever or collecting. But Pokemon is buying new printers. They're ramping up the printing capacity. They're allocating
they're
more of
also
their capacity.
offloading a lot more to UK. I don't know if you know about that,
Oh
but
yeah, I heard about that.
they're going to have dedicated printing facilities in Europe.
So all these
And I
things,
think
I guess, is to say like if they need to print 20 billion cards to meet the demand, they will do that. Like it might
do
take some
you
time.
yeah, that reminds me, have you seen Pika Pika Papa's content on YouTube?
Don't think so.
I highly recommend it. From like a data standpoint, he's one of my favorites.
Take a look.
Um, he had talked about a video of how much Pokemon has printed year over year, and I have to try to find that video, but
Yeah, send
it's
me the link
crazy.
after the stream.
I will. He made a video of like data on like year after year how much they printed, and then like you see how much more they printed like shortly after a booming like era, like a like booming year, and it's crazy. Like they find
Because
a
they
sweet
finally
spot.
catch up to
Yeah,
it,
they
pretty much.
finally catch up, and there's a sweet spot of where they stay stable, and then there's like another somewhat boom, and like it's 2023, dude. I swear to you, that was when we had the most healthy market since I've been back in. Like that was like a prime year as an investor, as a collector, as a like anything you can do. If you were doing it right, it was a great year to be a
Yeah,
buyer.
that was perfect
Um,
because you could still find Sword and Shield era in retail, and
yeah,
then also the shelves were stocked full of Scarlet Violet era, so you could sort of pick
yeah,
you're like, oh, I'm still collecting Sword and Shield, or you could find everything you wanted to essentially that was out at the time.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, you can't even find like a blister pack of like Obsidian Flames now, which is super dumb.
That is super dumb.
But
Um, like it's everything is getting absorbed. When people were like hyping up Shrouded Fable, don't get me wrong, there's some great cards in that set. Um, but I just think of it from like a long term perspective. It holds like it does not hold a candle to half the sets. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Like it.
no, you would need like such an overhaul of it would take years purely because it has so many of the newer Pokemon. We already know how the old Pokemon in that set, Duskull, Dusclops, Dusknoir, Persian,
Houndoom.
they're all great Pokemon, but they're not top tier from the people that were collecting. I
Yeah.
mean, you could say like they're upper mid tier, let's say, but you would need something like a Fezandipiti and Okidogi Monkey to become like the most important Pokemon in Scarlet Violet for the next generation for it to like in 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 my mind bolster itself up compared to I mean,
I'll
yeah,
be
it's just
honest.
it has too
They're
much
forgotten
going.
Pokemon. They're just forgotten Pokemon. They
Yeah.
will not be relevant in 5 years. Also, the best thing that happened out of Shrouded Fable was those collection boxes. Like that Kingdra and Greninja,
Yeah.
hands down the
God, they
only.
need I wish
They're
they
gonna
put
do
those in
more.
the
They're
set
gonna do.
so bad.
They're gonna do more. There's no way they don't revisit that whole theme. Like those were insane. I was
Those
hoping.
are probably
I
my
already.
favorite promo card I've seen since I got back into.
Yeah, they've been the best ones since the Evolving Skies alt arts from
Yeah.
those EV
Yeah, I
boxes.
think
Those
that
are
Vaporeon's probably my favorite from that the VMAX. It's like the
yeah.
craziest card I've ever seen.
The Vaporeons are my favorite too, and that's another like example of me wishing I bought more with those Shrouded Fables. I think I have like 4 or 5 of each, and it was just because I didn't buy as many as I should have with the EVs, and I'm here and I have this opportunity. I just constantly like learn from my own mistakes in this hobby. That's all you can do, and especially in markets like this. Um, and I've been buying more of uh, the three, what is it? The 3-pack prismatics with the EVs with the Cosmo Hollows. I'm a
Oh
believer.
yeah.
Those Cosmo Hollows are not easy to grade from like these promo cards. There's a lot of really cool ones. Paying 1,300 shipped. I'm a buyer.
He's
Retro. We're
asking you to
not.
dump on him.
Yeah. I'm not saying Surging is a bad set. I just think that it didn't deserve the amount of attention that it got, in my opinion. Like it just
I'm
didn't.
glad I went on it in on it because that was the first
Oh,
time
same.
where I had finally had enough of people saying something's a bad set, and I was like, you know what? I refuse to believe that something with Pikachu, regardless of if it's
Yeah,
Pikachu's
it's gonna do
ass on the
great.
card, it has to
Yeah,
do well. It has to. Like, it's gonna be the hardest card to pull. Like, that's why I was just like, you know what? Stay in your lane,
yeah,
do your thing. I
yeah.
think literally within a few, like even some of the cases I got from a friend, the price was already moving at that point. They were already 130 a box or something like that, and he still sold me the cases when they were at like 100 each, I think. So I think I paid like 605
Nice.
shipped or something. So
Yeah. No, I think
y-
Surging is a solid set. It will be one of the better sets of Scarlet and Violet over time. But
I think that man, I talked to the retro about this, but the one miss, and I think Pokemon does everything intentionally. The one miss was the Latios being different rarities because it's essentially tanked the Latios's value. But I thought,
yeah,
especially with the tag team, I thought they had a really big opportunity there. The artworks are still connecting, which I think will be good in the future. I think it's the Mesprit as well that connects
mm,
with them. But
I yeah, I think they're similar, but I don't think they were intended to be like a extended art with the Mesprit. It's like if you look at it, it's actually
uh,
not. It's
it's
not
just like
aligned.
just so
It
happens they both have sunsets
yeah
like in the background.
yeah. Um, I also think that there was a missed opportunity with Kyogre and Rayquaza because of the Groudon illustration rare. I think we should have saw something like what we saw with Latias and Latios from Surging, but with Groudon and Kyogre. I know that they just introduced a Kyogre EX, so I
Oh, that's what
still think there's
Pokeneer said. Big
yeah,
miss
yeah,
in the
Yvonne.
Kyogre. Yeah.
Yeah, big miss. Because it looks like he's at the edge of the ocean, like facing
Yeah, that's a good
Kyogre,
point.
but he's looking up in the sky at Rayquaza. So like, I think there's more to that illustration out of frame that we can't see. Um, it would be really cool to see those come to life at some point, but they could be saving it for something down the road.
It is awesome to see them attempt that stuff more with the gold Galarian Gallery
Yeah.
legendaries with I mean even I guess the Shrouded Fable isn't connected technically, is
No,
it?
but they have the no, but they're both using the same type of Japanese art style from like
I
the
like them.
mid.
They're subtly making these jabs where it's like connected artworks, like really like it is literally art. Like it's amazing
Yeah,
there
yeah.
when you look at
They're,
where they have come from, I guess, with their older cards. But
definitely. It's just like what's the next
yeah, it's gonna be
big
hard to keep
thing?
topping it. Um, I guess
And
gimmick wise as they keep going.
that's another thing. Like if you think about it, what's 5 to 8 more years look like of illustration rares and special arts? Like, what does that do to the saturation of the market on these types of cards? Because like rainbows died out, but I do think there will be a point in time, whether that's like 10, 15 years from now, where there's a resurgence of interest in rainbows, just because I'm really close to a lot of the local TCG shops, one in particular, which used to
I
be
gotta show
kind of
you the one rainbow I have. This is the one rainbow I have. I got in a trade recently. The
oh, the
Suicune.
Suicune, best of the Johto beasts. Sorry, not sorry on that. Like that's
Sorry, I didn't mean
hands
to cut
down.
you off.
Oh no, um, because I was talking with the Pokemon guy that runs basically their whole Pokemon side of the business, and he was like, the number one thing I get asked by kids is, what rainbow rares do you have? Like 8 and under. Like that was the biggest thing for the longest time. And of course, like I mean, they know these kids know about Umbreon VMAX, but they're not obtainable. You know, rainbow rares were actually obtainable, and I think that with time, that's like an era that will be remembered of that type of rarity. With alt arts and illustration rares, it's just like, I mean, I have a hard time seeing what else is possible unless they just what they're doing right now is that they're pulling on the nostalgia cord a lot through Scarlet and Violet, and that's like 151, Team Rocket, Partner Pokemon, Black and White. They're reaching for all of these things that we had in the past, and like how do they innovate to
I mean, I don't mind them doing that. I do probably agree that the frequency is probably too
the
much. Like
frequency?
I'm not sure that we even needed black and white at this point. Like it feels like 151 and Rocket, like those are I'm still sitting comfortable in terms of like
Yeah, I agree. I think
but
that's what it is, because
yeah.
if you think about it, aside from celebrations, I can't think of a Sword and Shield aspect where they really pulled in the nostalgia.
Yeah,
Um,
they sort of just innovated with the mixing new gen Pokemon with old gen and a new art style, which I think everyone loves alt art style.
yeah.
I think the one thing it did, and even into illustration rares and stuff, is it gives you more of a glimpse into what these Pokemon look like in their natural environment, or maybe when they interact with. I mean, even some of the coolest ones to me is that Mew promo from the UPC, but also that same artist did the Vanillish from
Oh yeah, yeah.
Paradox. That's like one of my favorite cards because it reminds me of like and the Mew as well, but they remind me of like Super Smash Bros. There's like a map.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh, I don't remember which game it's actually from because I didn't ever play it. It might be like a. It might be
Melee.
no. It's from the newer Smash Ultimate,
Oh,
but
Ultimate.
uh, I don't. It might be from the game with Lucas and Ness. I don't remember
Are you thinking about?
exactly.
Is it the Ice Climbers?
No, not Ice
No.
Climbers. I'll have to find it
Hmm.
after this,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I'm curious. Yeah, and I think I had thought about this, and it's probably little like a strange thought, but like Scarlet and Violet, like the whole theme, right, is like the idea of past and present or future, past and future, which
yeah,
is like, so
it's
I
like
think
tech and
that's,
ancient sort of.
yeah, so I think like they kind of took that with like the overall themes of Pokemon over the years, and they
Yeah,
went
that's a good
heavy
point.
on that. So they're like, it's bringing all of these vintage like aspects to a more modern audience. So they're trying to innovate on top of that, which is probably why they went back with all these different themes. And so that's my thought
I
with it.
didn't.
But it,
I honestly didn't mind it because, like, yes, everyone. I mean, they have the original Groudon or whatever, but like, you have Iron Valiant, which is Gallade, or you have Roaring
oh
Moon,
yeah,
which is
the
Salamence or whatever. I don't mind it in the sense that it's still like that light bulb obviously goes off in my head, but it also feeds into it being a new Pokemon for, a kid growing up right now. They don't know
yeah.
Salamence, but they know Roaring Moon. So I like that aspect of it. It is a little bit convoluted when they start spinning that with alt arts, IR. It does get a little
Yeah,
mix and
it
match here, but I think they've proven time and time again they know how to pivot, they know how to innovate, they know how to um well, maybe not. The printing seems to be one of the biggest issues, like, and that's just a factor of like no one can guess when the market's going to go up or down as drastically as it does, especially when you factor in things like politics and global economy and stuff like that. And then the other thing is that they have to schedule these printers like months in advance. So the timing on
yeah.
that is always going to be off, I think, and people just get so frustrated. But really, you have to probably give it to Pokemon that they're not doing with. Again, I wasn't collecting Magic at the time, but I've watched all of Rudy's videos in the last few years, and
I
he
absolutely
taught.
love Rudy's content, and I've
Yeah,
been watching him since 2020, and he brings such a like obviously he's entertaining, but like he brings in such a unique perspective that from like Pokemon standpoint that I it helps me make decisions in a lot of ways because like he really doesn't give a shit about Pokemon,
well,
like but he's smart with it and he
and
knows
his
how,
stance, he has essentially he does like inverse investing, I guess, which is like when people are overly negative, he knows it's pretty much time to go in. And
time to
and
buy.
and
Yeah.
to me that has proven, like, I didn't really understand that until I saw it with Obsidian Flames, SV Base, all these sets where no one cared about them,
Yep.
and now not as many people have them because they've sort of filtered out into the hands
Yeah.
they needed
I
to.
mean, look at Rebel Clash ETBs.
And the booster box, it's like 300
Yeah.
plus, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe
Yeah,
400. I have no idea.
Rebel Clash, I remember sitting on targets. You know what else sat on target shelves that I to this day regret not picking up? The Umbreon and Deoxys tag team promo box.
Oh
I
god.
remember looking at that thing in a target shelf and saying, maybe next time.
I
So like, ah man.
I can't even imagine. I don't think I got the honor of seeing those, but I was when I came in, it was already, again, I pretty much joined in 2021. So it was already like peak hype where like I couldn't find anything. I wasn't even trying to go to retail because I knew that didn't really make sense. I didn't want to battle anyone for that, but I mean, it was pretty much Hidden Fates, Champions Path, Vivid Voltage. Those were all the big
Yep.
ones at the time. But okay, Pokeneer is calling you out. How do you feel about
They
Johto getting ignored?
Dude, how has
Leaving the hobby
Totodile
for good.
not got an illustration rare
Well,
yet? Like,
I mean, here's the thing. He has to, right? Because they're doing the Z to A set. So you would
yeah.
think he has to
So
in the next gen.
that's why
Uh,
I thought they've held off this entire era. Like, I think that they had this planned out, obviously, and they were like, all right, we're gonna do because they have Chikorita. But we didn't get any like well, actually, no, I take that back. We just got Typhlosion coming out in was that not Journey, but Destined. the illustration
That
rare,
is one of the
the
best
Typhlosion.
illustration rares
The
I've
Ethan's
seen.
Typhlosion, that thing is badass. Yeah, no, I love
They
it.
they definitely screwed you in Z to A, and I don't know if it's just because of the Typhlosion drama that circulated for a while
Dude,
there.
that's so funny. I don't know. Totodile's always been my favorite. I'm really excited to see a Feraligatr SIR or something. Like I'm sure they're gonna do a mega SIRs are the next thing. Like that's
Right, that's a
that's
good point.
that's that's happening. We're seeing mega SIRs or alt arts, whatever they call this rarity. But I'm really excited to see that. One of the biggest like FU Pokemon moments was like not putting a Ho-Oh alt art in Silver Tempest. I think that was like a huge miss. That's actually the only legendary from Johto that didn't get an alt art in Sword and Shield. Like we
Mm,
got the dogs, we got Lugia, but we did not get and we got Celebi, but we did not get a Ho-Oh alt art. So
yeah.
unfortunate. And I
My
mean now
best
we have one.
performing post, I was gonna say my best performing post to date since I started to change to like these market posts was the comparison of Ho-Oh, Ethan's Ho-Oh to the Lugia V alternate art, and I was like, old versus new, which one do you prefer? And a lot of half the people were saying huge miss by Pokemon for not. Um, I mean, they were even saying going as far as to say they missed on Ho-Oh because they did such a good job with Lugia, and they kind of just like
I you
didn't
see
they
I
didn't do
disagree.
Ho-Oh
I
with the
think Ho-Oh was
tower and the legendary dogs and like
you know that whole like saying like or like that idea behind like oh you I just read this book and they're making a movie on it and I can't wait to see it, then you go and see it and you're so disappointed.
yeah.
It's because you mentally read that book in the and visualize it in the ideal way that you would see it, right? So when you go and see someone else's interpretation of that book, you're just completely disappointed. And I think people have like that ongoing like relationship with like how these cards come out. Like Lugia was not favored. The Charizard from Brilliant Star was not desirable. And it's like they just don't appreciate the back end of a Pokemon.
Well,
like
and they don't appreciate the artist making it, and they
Lugia is
do
my
not
favorite.
they
Like
do
that's my
not
favorite
give
card.
Pokemon enough credit for like not being calculated in what they do. People are saying, why didn't they include Ho-Oh with the tower and the three dogs? As if like the creators of the franchise do not know that that's like, you know, ties back to the movie and things like that. Like it's so obvious, but I think Pokemon knows which cards. Well, again, they might not know from a market standpoint which ones they want to succeed, but the way it's worked out, and it seems a little bit uh strapped together last minute in the sense that I don't think it felt as cohesive with Destined in the sense that, you have Ho-Oh and Garchomp now, and I don't
Yeah.
know, it doesn't
Well, yeah,
match
it's not
as
even a
well.
rocket name set,
Right.
right?
It doesn't
Like
like match as well in that regard. But I think the point there is that they probably are still wanting Mewtwo, Moltres. Like they're still trying to push some of those other cards possibly. I do think that it's probably going to be, if I had to guess, it's probably going to be Mewtwo, Garchomp, Ho-Oh. I'm guessing as the top three, but
I I I actually think well, I forgot about Hoa being in this set. I don't know
it's
why
a
I forgot
big
about.
ass set. That's why I don't think people are like, they
Yeah, it
forget that
is.
Heatwave Arena is like also in
Yeah,
this set. You have the Misty Psyduck,
yeah, that's a
Typhlosion.
yeah. Man, that Misty Psyduck paired with the Starmie from Astral is gonna look
Oh,
great. Um,
I still think
now
Astro's probably a little bit under where it
it's
should be.
yeah. I, I will like I understand why it's not. It has 6 alt arts. It only has probably 2 that people are really interested in,
Yeah,
maybe
the alt arts
3.
themselves are not the
Yeah, the Machamp
biggest.
is probably the best,
It has the
and
best like the
the Palkia.
Garchomp and the Starmie
Oh
are
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Those are some of the best trainer gallery cards from the entire
Yeah.
generation. Um, yeah, so I think Garchomp might be the biggest card,
Oh, you
and
think?
I only say that because I know I'm not a trainer collector. I don't have no interest in trainers, but I know Cynthia's like top percent, like top 1%. But I also think that it's one of the most dynamic special arts I've seen
Like in
since
the
they
arena like that?
yeah, like I think that was
Yeah.
one of the most creative like spins on like a battling Pokemon. Like I loved like the arena like that. And that this is all subjective, obviously, but like, and then I'm also considering how people's reaction was to Mewtwo initially. I loved the Mewtwo. I think that card is great. I think it's like but people always just like, oh, Mewtwo should have been breaking out of the test tube or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, you are like just putting these Pokemon in a box. And like people's complaints about Jesse and James not being in this set, I'm just like, holy hell! If you look at Team Rocket, it has a pack art and it has like 2 cards that have Jesse and James in it. I don't know where you got this idea that Jesse and James are what like
I think
obviously
it's
from
just
like the
from the
anime.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, but like the people just like had to like fixate on like the missing components. That Moltres that they put in this set is probably the best Moltres art that they've ever made for Moltres.
Yeah.
Like hands down. Like that card is crazy. And like all the callbacks, like the Moltres, the Nidoking, the Crobat, the Dark Crobat, like those are all callbacks to like those earlier cards, and I think they did a great job. The Giovanni, I'm pretty sure the Giovanni's Nidoking is like inspired from a actual like manga frame from like one of the original mangas. So like they did some really cool things. Just people are just they honestly just expect so much from these sets, and you're
Well, and
right,
also like
like they're not calculated.
how do you expect Pokemon to like grow if you're just only catering to the same audience over and over doing the same thing? You know,
Yeah,
we want Jesse and Jane. You know, I get it, but also I'm like
yeah.
I'm not gonna nitpick it that much. Like people literally will throw their hands down and be like, I'm done because they
Yeah.
couldn't put Mewtwo in the right like
I mean,
positioning or whatever.
people were so upset when Scarlet and Violet came out and like Terra, like the Terra like gimmick came out. Like people were like they refused change, and I get it to an extent. Like you grow up with it and you just expect so much out of, especially out of the games. Like I feel like the games are so behind as far as tech goes.
Yeah, they're
Like
clunky.
they're really clunky.
And it's like the exact same game it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you can run
Um,
around a little bit more, but
sure, yeah, but like I don't know where I was going with that. I literally just lost my train of thought. But
I think just like adapting to the times
yeah,
and
it's adapting to the times and being open to change, and like that goes just from being like someone that's engaging in this hobby, right? Like you have to be able to adapt to change and grow with these like situations and
well,
learn from
and
them. Because if
people just always want to find why like every set needs to be their set. It needs to be exactly how they want it. The Pokemon that they put in there need to be like represented the way they want. It's like you don't have to buy it. You can wait
yeah,
until the set that you really want or the card that you really want comes
it's like
out. Like there's I don't know.
people just start hate buying. Like they're like, I'm so upset with this, but I'm still gonna buy it.
I know it'll do
Michael,
well.
yeah, Michael brings up, yeah, gray borders, easier pull rates, SIRs instead of altars. It was literally a dream for me. I'm gonna be honest. Like the opportunity that Scarlet and Violet base provided was crazy. Like Drowsy was a $2 or $3 card. Like I remember picking
That's
up my copy
nuts.
for the
I didn't even
binders,
know
and
that.
yeah, it's I loved all of the changes. Like they were, and they're doing that more. They're trying to align Japanese with English to the point where they finally share the same name. Like I can't remember a set that's done that
Oh, with
in
Black Bolt,
recent.
White Flare.
Yeah,
That's a good
and
point.
so and they split. It's a split set, which that's what it is
I
in
don't know why
Japan.
they didn't call Destined Rivals the Glory of Team Rocket. I really wish they did,
I
but
love that name. Japanese names are Japanese names, Japanese quality, Japanese texture are all superior. And
yeah.
I'm still this English collector. I have plenty of Japanese too, but I wish that English would just get on
Okay,
board with
there's
all of that.
so many messages I've missed. I want to be respectful of your time too, because we've been going for almost 2 hours. It's
Yeah, yeah.
awesome. But let's
We can
try
end it
to
soon.
no, we don't have like maybe in the next like 15, 20
Cool.
minutes, but
That works
let's
for me.
see. So I pinned Retro's comment. He said Totodale's best Gen 2
Facts.
starter. Agreeing with you. Pokeneer
100%.
Water fans are always the loudest in the room, but I agree. Oh, they don't have Cyndaquil and Zeta A because it was in Legend of Arceus.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Fuller
they
Burn
gave
Tower would have
the
single-handedly made me a collector. Yeah, so I mean, to your point, it looks like from Michael and Quilly that they're also in the camp of Garchomp being the chase card. So we'll see. Again, to me personally, where I'm at now, and how I view things, it doesn't really matter to me what the chase card is. I will
sure.
at some point be buying some of the singles if I go then shows. Like there's something to be said about like you need the newest stuff sometimes to like attract the right attention. But
Yeah,
um I'm sort of where you're at, where it's like I've sort of accepted the change. Like it is such a bigger um thing than when I was a kid, that the artwork is still incredible to me. Like they're still leveling up on texture and things like that, where again, English maybe isn't anywhere near what Japanese is, but I'm still enjoying it a lot and I don't really have any major complaints. I do think that these brand new sets that people have no idea what they're even about should not be $200 $300 out of the gate,
agreed.
especially when
Yeah,
it's their first month of printing or they're not even released yet. Like that doesn't make sense to
agreed.
me. Million people in the queue doesn't make sense to me. But to your point earlier, they will catch up on printing, and once you do see the scalpers and the MSRP jargon start to go away, that's kind of when you know you're going to start to enter maybe more of a lull
Uh,
period
or just a more corrected period where things feel right from all perspectives. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love booms because it really does make it easy to sell. Like it, all sets of Jesse and James, those motherfuckers have lost me money and almost bankrupted. Oh, we got Giovanni in the house.
yeah.
But yeah, like don't get me wrong. Like being able to like buy something day of release and then almost like 5x my money is great because it allows me to churn that back into other goals as both a collector and as someone that buys and holds sealed. Like, um, there's a lot of opportunity in both environments. That being said, I do appreciate a more calm environment
I feel
where
like I have more time to think. Like it's not just like things being hurled at me. Pre-order here, click the link now. I'm
yeah,
like, dude, I can't like I can't keep up with it all, and I have to just like pick and choose my battles. And again, things like Journey, I think it's still a good set. It reminds me of Stellar in terms of like the amount of pulls you can get, but also I do think it has like a bit more to offer in terms of artwork
I
and stuff.
agree.
Squirtle and Bulbasaur will continue to do well. That's awesome, but it's just one of those things where when I was seeing it at 250, I'm like, this does not make sense to me. Like enhanced, non-enhanced, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'll wait for now. But
And
thinking
it's
is your
okay.
first problem. Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like turn off your brain and just go. Like
But
when
I'm a
you're
firm
in,
believer in like your gut instinct, like guiding you where you need to
yeah,
go. If something
I
doesn't feel
fair.
like a good buy, like it has steered me right more times than it's steered me wrong. Like just your instinct of like this doesn't feel right, or like this.
Sure. Yeah, but gut or no gut in January of this year, you literally will just make money. Like
Yeah.
it was something to
But
like
I mean,
I
that's the common misconception, is that like as Pokemon's starting to get caught up on the printing, hopefully eventually, um, the opposite is true of the money making portion of it. And so once you start to enter that race to the bottom portion of it, like people are still milking new set releases and stuff, just dumping it as soon as they get it. They're not going to be able to do that forever, or maybe they
yeah.
will, but they won't be able to make that margin. And so I hope people are sort of aware of that in terms of, again, even myself, like to some extent, I have to acknowledge that at this point, if I'm not selling things into this strength, I'm like hoarding essentially. I'm not like making a
Yeah.
smart business financial decision. Um, I sold off pretty much all of my, besides a few slabs and singles, to buy a couple more boxes of Scarlet Violet before they really shot up recently. But I do need to probably trickle out a few of the things where I'm like, I'm up to 300%. Like you can't just sit here and not acknowledge those. Like it's okay to say, okay, I don't want to sell, but I can't sit here and think that in the next 2 to 3 years I'll probably see a better return on anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I have to be
Yeah.
honest with
No.
myself.
No. I can definitely. I feel that a lot of the time because like I have a lot of things that I could sell, and like, I mean, I bought my Fusion Strike booster box for $80. So like, there's a part of me that and this is another lesson learned is like I should have bought more. Like I
Right.
didn't, but I have one, and I don't need the money. I don't
Right.
have to let it go. But there are times where I'm just like I have like 4 or 5 extra Pokemon Center ETBs of Prismatic right now, and I'm like, I have a case and I have a single box that I plan to keep long term. But do I need these extra 4? But I keep thinking I'm on the fence because I see what Evolving Skies Pokemon Center ETBs are doing right now, and those have nothing to offer. And I see that I don't see Prismatic getting that low, especially Pokemon Center ETBs.
I think it's
And
already
that's just
rebounded. I think it's close to 300 again already. Like it
for the ETB.
I think on at least on TCG Player last I
Yeah,
checked. Let me see.
yeah, yeah. I'm not surprised. So like, those are things that I'm just like, ugh. I had like 5 Evolving Skies booster boxes in 2022, and I sold 3 of them or 4 of them. And I wish I didn't. It's a regret that I have. I still have one, but at the same time, I'm like, I can learn from that experience and just hold these and see where they go. I can't imagine them
I
going lower
think
than what they are now.
one of my favorite YouTubers, a lot of people hate him, Nostalgianomics. He's the person that I really made any position on sealed with to begin with. Very grateful that I stumbled upon his videos. But one thing that he always preaches is if you can't figure out what to do or you're unsure, you can always just sell some, keep some. So if you have 5
Yeah,
cases, or let's
yeah,
just
sure.
make it even 6 cases, sell 3, keep 3, you know? Um, and that way you're not, again, that that's my least favorite thing is like not taking action on either end, like the extreme portion of not buying or not selling when it's at its lows or at its highs.
Yeah,
Because my dad to this day, he's still like, man, I shouldn't have sold that Amazon stock or that Apple stock. Like, and you made like tons of money, but it's still like, I mean, it's a magnitude
yeah.
that we can't even imagine. He had like thousands of shares and sold it for like 20 grand or something, as
Oof.
opposed to like 5, 6 million or, whatever. But I guess my point
Yeah.
is, you're never gonna be
At the
like
top, you're never gonna catch the top. Like,
well, also it's like if you have like that is just taking up some of your mental capacity to like make moves on other things now. Like learn, like you said, learn from your mistakes, try to figure out like either what it is you're interested in or what you think could perform the best just based on the numbers. But don't like to me, like at this point, I'm acknowledging Evolving Skies is out the window. Do I think it will be a $5,000 box one day? 100%. Do I
yeah,
want to pay $2,000 for a box right
no,
now? No. So
absolutely, exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
moving
there's
on.
just more opportunity. That's exactly how I feel about what I was saying about like Fusion Strike. There's
Yeah,
just so much more opportunity at a lower buy-in because, like I said, I don't have endless money, and I don't feel comfortable. Like, I'm very like risk averse when it comes to this hobby. Like, I don't see myself. I can just see that it's too expensive and move on instead of being someone that FOMO buys into something and regretting it later potentially. I
yeah,
mean, sure, it can go up, but I'm not betting on that versus booster boxes that I can probably get sub MSRP or sub, I truly believe we will see a set in the very near future that is below MSRP. Like, it's
100%.
going to happen again. Like,
Yeah,
to think that it's not. Will it be a Scarlet and Violet set? I don't know. It might be next gen. It might be the gen after that. But like, I just I'm more patient
it's
maybe
naive
than
thinking to think that way for whoever does because every gen, in my experience since 2020, at least up until Champions Path Vivid Voltage, it's usually always received poorly, like at the start, and so the prices are like to the actual bottom, and no one bats an eye or cares. They're like, it's so available. I'll be able to buy it in 3 years or whatever. And come 3 years, there's none of it around, and you're having to deal with sort of the same. That's how it seems like that's how Pokemon works their way up to the Lost Origin, Crown Zeniths at the end. You have Prismatic. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and that's how it is. No, every second half of an era is where everything gets way more exciting.
Yeah,
Like it's just it's how it is with every era. And so like that's why I was saying it's like it was like a perfect storm. Like we were entering the second half with surging sparks and all of these exciting things were happening in the hobby aside from like economic and political points that are all going to take are going to be factored in. But like from just inside the bubble of the hobby, there's so many things that were already like in play that just created this buzz of hype, and it's going to phase out over time, and there'll be another high, I'm sure, in another year or two, if after we get that 30th anniversary, things are going to take off again.
yeah.
It's just bound to happen. It's just navigating the ups and downs that we will constantly have, and I'm sure there are people that will hate to see it happen when it does, but that's just the reality of things. Like it just this
Yeah.
stuff doesn't just go up, and to think that this is the norm is you obviously haven't been here long enough is the reality of it if that's what you think
This
it
has
really
been like the
is.
fastest like 6 to 8 months ever for me, where it's like I
Yeah.
haven't. It
You
feels like
can't
things changed like 2 months ago, and it's been like 8 months already. So that's that's more so also a sign of like, again, people just can't keep buying this stuff endlessly. It can't be a positive increase forever till the end of time. That's just not
yeah.
how markets work. Someone is going to be taking gains somewhere along the way, and at some point Pokemon is going to make a bad set or something where people bad, quote
Yeah.
unquote, not as hype as Black and White, Prismatic, whatever, and it will just lose that interest. And like
Momentum.
you said,
Yeah.
once you lose the scalpers and the MSRP gang, then what you're left with is the people that were probably. But to your point, I do think that things set a new low that's higher than before, or you get more people in the hobby
Yeah.
interested than previously. I think
Yeah, and
even Pokemon Pocket again, I think has like introduced a lot of people back. I mean, the artwork they're putting in Pocket cannot be
I know.
understated.
Oh,
It's nuts.
100%. I actually need
It's
to
nuts.
revisit what they've introduced because they've added a lot since I looked at it because I fell off of it within like the first couple of weeks if I remember
I had to
correctly.
delete it because I was playing it too much. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
funny.
I'm actually enjoying it too much. I was playing it at work. I was like, yep, I got to delete it. But
I actually met someone. I was at a restaurant and I had brought a Journey Together booster bundle to rip with my partner just for the hell of it. We were like just having a good evening, and the waiter came up to me and was like, "Did you pull anything?" And I was like, "Oh." And he was like, "Man, he's like the most like he was like a casual collector to the T, and you can tell just like his mentality. But he had been in the hobby for like 4 or 5 years now, and he's just like your typical like I like to collect, put it in a binder, I like to rip, so forth. And he was just like, man, I have to say I'm really starting to hate the hobby. I can't get anything, and I was just like, that's so sad. Like that's just like
yeah,
someone that's been in here for as long as they have, but like just really upset with the market, and it's like it's I'm sure it's affected a lot of people from just like the casual perspective, and that's going to have a trickling effect, and
yeah.
like it's kind of the sad reality of it.
Yeah,
But
if you lose people like that, but you're still gaining people who want to scalp flip whatever, at the first sign of like market weakness, once you lose those people, it will like drop off
it'll
drastically, I
hurt.
think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people want to get
um,
out, like the people that don't care. Again, I collect, well, I invest in sealed, I guess, but I still very much enjoy Pokemon. Like
yeah.
I've thought so many times to myself that I need to go buy a DS and get
You
Pearl
know
and
what,
Mystery
man? It's so
Dungeon
funny
and
you
just
say
like
that.
play those old ones again. Like,
There's this guy on Instagram that started following me a couple months back. His like DNA Games, but he makes his own like SPs and Game Boy Advances,
oh
and like he makes these ones that are like metal body, but he also makes like these plastic ones that have like these cool illustrations of different Pokemon, and they look like really good quality. And I've been so tempted to pick up an SP that's like got like a nice OLED light, rechargeable, and then throw in like Leaf Green or something and replaying that
yeah,
because I just don't have the time. Like I'm like I wish, but yeah, like I love Pokemon outside of just collecting the cards or this part of the hobby. I've been like I feel very lucky to have grown up when this all came out. Like it holds a special place in my heart. My like some of my best friends growing up, my stepbrother, like we grew up with this stuff, and I have so many memories to think about aside from just the TCG.
Yeah,
And
this
so
is
like I
this. Sorry, I was just gonna say this is a
no
good
no
transition where I'm curious. Um, this will be kind of the last round out question, which was you were sort of already talking about outside of the TCG. You like some of the old games and stuff, but do you? Because where I was going with this was, yeah, I grew up with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh technically
yeah same.
when I was really young, and then I started to get into anime more, and I was just thinking to myself, I really like that even today as an adult. Um, all of these things can kind of coexist and do well at the same time. Like anime is more popular than it's ever been because of things like One Piece and stuff like that. But are there any other collectibles or things that you enjoy outside of the hobby immediately? I guess that you either spend your free time on or your uh, like your income or anything that you know you collect
Yeah,
on the side, or is
from a
it?
I used to collect a lot of the Pokemon video games. That was like my biggest thing. And I've also been wanting to at some point pick up some of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I played because I that's another TCG that I came up with when it came out. Like I remember Metal Raiders coming out. I remember like LOB. I played like a light and dark deck with Invasion of Chaos. So like I remember Chaos Emperor Dragon. I would love to have a Chaos Emperor Dragon in like a first ed PSA 9 or 10
I
down the
just
road. Like,
sold my first graded Yu-Gi-Oh card today
how was
because,
that?
well,
How long did
actually, I
you
guess it
have
was
it?
my second. So a big, like $2,700 Pokemon lot I bought from someone that I've bought from before. He threw in like extra cards, and he threw in like 3 Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he threw in the Obelisk, the Tormentor
Oh
card,
wow, was it the Game
which
Boy one?
no, it was a more recent, like, I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh, that's the one thing they
They
reprint
reprint and it's so confusing.
everything in
Yeah,
so
that's
many
a part of
sets.
reason.
So
Yeah,
it was a newer, it was like a 2020 print of it, but I mean the raw, when I looked at the TCG player, it was like 70, $80. I was like, bro, you did not just throw this in for free. So I
wow,
graded it thinking I could get a 10 because they were like 3 or 400.
they're
Got a
so tough,
9.
dude.
Yeah. But it sold for like 130 or 125 today. So it
Oh,
was
cool. Heck
for a
yeah.
free card that I graded for $20. I was like, hey, can't complain.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so like aside from like just the TCG of Pokemon, like Yu-Gi-Oh has a special place because like I said, one of my best friends growing up, him and I used to play local tournaments, and we used to play all the video Pokemon video games. So like those are things like I would like to have blue or silver like graded in like a somewhat high grade from like I don't know VGA or WADA or something like that. Just because it's just a nostalgia,
Yeah,
factor.
there are
But
there are a couple DS games I would love to have graded, but they're just so
man,
expensive because there's
they
just
really
not that many of
are.
them. I want like I think one of them, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks
Min-
or Phantom Hourglass.
oh,
Those were the two I played on the DS. And there's like
loved
Kirby Squeak
Phantom.
Squad, and then I would love to have a Pokemon Pearl, but it's so expensive. It's like $1,000+ to get like one of the mint
Jeez.
graded ones, and then Castlevania Dawn of
I
Sorrow,
would
I think, was the other one I
Soul
love.
Silver. Soul Silver is another one I would love to have. That's like
Yeah.
that. I think that to this day is still one of my favorite Pokemon video games. It just has so many cool things to it. But yeah, I actually had both of those Zelda games that I sold. I sold an entire Zelda lot. I collected like I had Minish Cap even with like the original GBA box. Like I
Oh
had,
damn.
yeah, I sold that for like 300. There's a few games that I regret selling. Like I had like some of the rare GameCube Zelda games that they were like part of like a limited collection type of thing. I can't remember their names, but
There's
yeah, I
just too
sold all
much to
that.
collect, too
So
much
there
to
is,
have.
and like that's another thing is like when if this is like if you're collecting Pokemon right now, and you're just upset, there are so many other things that you can like point towards that have more value for your buck. But
I
yeah,
think it's hard. A lot of people just want like I understand, like they want to be included in
sure.
like what everyone else is enjoying, but you have to. try. It's hard saying this because I'm already so involved and like have a large position in Pokemon that I can be like blessed enough to say that, but
You got
you
to start
have to
somewhere. You
you
got
got
to
to start
start
somewhere,
somewhere.
but also like just your opportunity will come if you stick at it. Like
Yeah,
there will be an entry point that you're comfortable with to make like a sizable collection position, whatever. But
it comes with
it's just
time.
hard. Well, and like you just obviously you get attracted when all the money moves there
Yeah,
and when all the attention's on it, all the eyes are on these sets. Like it's very obvious, but I don't know. I think the future is bright for Pokemon, but they do need to figure out some of the printing
the
issues
kinks.
and
Yeah,
stolen cards, all those
and
things.
it's
But
gonna be funny because when they do, the demand will probably not be there like it is today. Like
yeah,
it's gonna be an interesting next couple of years through the 30th anniversary. But I'm excited. There's like what we were talking about before we got on the live was just like there's always something new. There's
yeah,
literally something happening every day in this hobby. Um, and that's what keeps it exciting, I guess.
yeah. Every week there is something I've never heard of before or interfaced with that just pops up out of nowhere. So,
Yeah,
all right, man. Well, I think we end it there. It's been a long live, very insightful, and just a good conversation all around. And
likewise.
I mean, hopefully we can. I know we'll chat on
Oh
Instagram and
yeah, we're
whatnot,
always
but
going back and forth on
yeah,
Instagram.
hopefully I can have you back on soon and we can.
You're
I
based
mean,
out of Seattle or Washington,
yeah,
or
yep.
you're out, okay. So we're both on
Not
the
in
West Coast.
Seattle, but
Cool.
close to Seattle.
Are you coming to Card Party?
I am. Yeah,
Okay.
in
Well, October.
October.
Yeah, I'll
See
be
you
there.
there.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Hell yeah.
Sounds good. Appreciate it,
Cool.
Jake.
Right on, Zach. Thank you for having me on again, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, always. All right.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Take it easy.